Chapter 431. The handsome white-robed youth walked to the left side of the hall and chose a random seat to sit down. He closed his eyes and meditated, not speaking to anyone. His entire body exuded an icy aura, as if he was a 10,000-year-old block of ice. His icy aura was rather reserved, but it contained a haughty aloofness that kept others at a distance. Interesting. Dongbua Shuang glanced at the handsome white-robed youth, then picked up his wine cup and chatted with his companion. You flatter me. There are so many experts in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast that I'm nothing compared to. Being able to pass the Starfield preliminaries is already a great stroke of luck. If Brother Dongbua's strength can't even pass, then there's no hope for us. Brother Dongbua, don't be so humble. Time passed. Day and night, day and night. For deities, a mere 2 or 3 days was indeed a very short period of time. More and more people signed up for the Starfield preliminaries, and the number had long since surpassed 1,000. However, the most conspicuous ones were still the red-haired man and the handsome white-robed youth with a terrifying background. The red-haired man was still exuding a baleful aura, and no deity was willing to approach within 30 meters of him. Everyone, everyone. A scarlet-armored general walked over and said in a clear voice, the sky has darkened, and the Starfield preliminaries will begin tomorrow morning. Now, everyone, please announce your name. Tong Ya. Wan Feng. Sang Qiu. The scarlet-armored general recorded everyone's names, then quickly walked up to the red-haired man who was exuding a baleful aura. The red-haired man raised his head, his expression as cold as ever beneath his half-mask, Shui Yun. A moment later, he arrived in front of the handsome white-robed youth. May I know your name, Your Highness? The scarlet-armored general asked politely, his back even bending as he bowed. 7th Mei Yu. The handsome white-robed youth replied calmly as he looked at the general. Dongbua Shuang smiled as he heard this. What a strange name. Soon, it was Dongbua Shuang's turn. Dongbua Shuang said directly. After recording everything, the scarlet-armored general smiled and said, everyone, rest well and prepare. The Starfield preliminaries will begin at dawn. When the time comes, I will announce your names. Once you hear your names, you can go up and fight. Hurry up, the Starfield preliminaries are about to begin. Hurry up. Within Mountain Wu City, immortals rushed over from all directions, heading towards the Bloodshed region to watch the battle. It's a grand event that happens once every 10 million years. Only the most dazzling and powerful divine-level experts are qualified to participate in the battle. Just thinking about it makes my blood boil. Good wine is needed to watch a grand event. Look, what's this? Winter fire. That's great. You can give me half of it. At this moment, the area where the battle was about to take place in the Bloodshed region was already filled with people. Countless deities gathered in all directions. The sky was just beginning to brighten, and countless stars could still be seen in the sky. However, the esteemed guests had already arrived. As the Starfield Patrol Commander, Patrol Master Guan naturally sat in the main seat. There was also a throne beside him that was almost on the same level as him. That throne belonged to the beautiful woman. Below them, there were many other thrones. There was a total of 5 world deities and 1 peak deity. The only peak deity was a smiling black-robed old man. General 2, it's been a long time since you came to my soaring cloud lake. I've invited you so many times, but you never came. The soaring cloud lake master smiled. General 2, I just obtained a barrel of good wine. It was bought by my son at a high price in the prefecture city. I've always been reluctant to enjoy it. I've been waiting for you. General 2, the 5 world deities below were all trying to curry favor with the peak deity black-robed old man. Naturally, they were all transmitting messages to him, to which the black-robed old man responded with a smile. Patrol Master Guan, who was sitting on the main seat, sneered when he saw this. He then said in a clear voice, Brother 2, you've cultivated for so many years, yet you still haven't stepped into the world deity realm. If this goes on, I'm afraid that your true deity heart will collapse soon. In my opinion, you should just give up on your position as general. If you go into closed-door cultivation, you might be able to break through to become a world deity. Thank you for your concern, Patrol Master. I've been ordered by the Bloodshed God Palace to guard the Mountain Woostar Field. Naturally, I'll do my best. The black-robed old man smiled. Compared to my little life, the duties of the Bloodshed God Palace are much more important. If you lose your life, you won't be able to shoulder the duties of the Bloodshed God Palace. Patrol Master Guan sneered. I won't trouble Patrol Master Guan to worry about that, the black-robed old man said with a smile. Humph, Patrol Master Guan snorted and didn't say anything else. That's right. This black-robed old man was one of the 2 giants of the Mountain Woostar Field. He was the general of the garrisoned legion. There were a total of 2 legions in a starfield. One was the Patrol Legion, which was responsible for recruiting and building the starfield. The other was the garrisoned legion that the Bloodshed God Palace had dispatched. The authority of the garrisoned legion was relatively greater. For example, the Soaring Cloud Lake Master and the other world deities of the Starfield had to curry favor with the leader of the garrisoned legion. The 2 great legions kept each other in check. This way, they could prevent the Starfield Patrol from acting recklessly. The beautiful woman sitting beside Patrol Master Guan was watching everything from the side. She then raised her head and said, Patrol Master Guan, it's about time, right? Yes. Patrol Master Guan raised his head and looked at the sky. He then stood up. Everyone. Patrol Master Guan's figure was thin, but he was still a world deity. The moment he opened his mouth, his majestic voice reverberated throughout every corner of the Bloodshed region. The countless deities who had rushed over to watch could hear him clearly, and all of them grew excited. It's starting, it's starting. Hurry, hurry, hurry up and watch. You have to tell me when my 3rd brother comes out. Patrol Master Guan looked around and continued, the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast is a grand event that His Majesty has personally ordered. He hopes that the experts of our Mountain Woostar Field will be able to display their strength, pass the preliminaries, and even the selections in the prefecture capital, and even participate in the final Myriad Flower Feast. They will be able to enjoy the Myriad Flower True Fruit together with His Majesty and the other powerful existences. That would be the greatest glory of our entire Mountain Woostar Field. Countless spectators felt their hearts boiling with excitement. They truly wished that they could see His Majesty the Blood-Blade Emperor. Even meeting him would be an endless honor, but their strength was still insufficient. In fact, it would be a luxury for the entire Mountain Woostar Field to have someone participate in the final banquet. I'm sure there's no need for me to explain the rules of the Starfield preliminaries. Everyone has long since heard of them. Patrol Master Guan nodded. Yes, the rules are very simple. As long as you can defeat this fierce shaman warrior within a period of time, you will be considered to have passed the preliminaries. If you can't do it, it will be considered a failure. In the center of the countless deities watching from afar, an enormous battle platform began to float up. This battle platform covered an area of 10,000 kilometers. Such a large battle platform was nothing to a deity. In the center of the battle platform, a humanoid creature with brown hair, approximately 12 meters tall, stood there. It raised its head and roared angrily. Not a single strand of hair could be seen on its face. Its skin was white, and its pair of small eyes flickered with an ominous glint. This was the famous fierce shaman's battle weapon. This seemingly ordinary fierce shaman warrior was actually the opponent of every Starfield preliminaries of the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast. It had defeated countless deities time and time again. Defeating it? It was far, far too difficult. Everyone has been waiting anxiously. Let's cut to the chase. Patrol Master Guan's majestic voice resounded throughout the sky. I hereby announce that the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast Starfield preliminaries will now begin. First place, Lai Shao. Not too far away, at the entrance of the palace used for registration, a general in scarlet armor shouted. Immediately, a figure walked out of the palace. It was a man with a bird's head, most likely a demonic beast. Some demonic beasts, even in human form, still like to reveal their demonic beast characteristics. This man with a bird's head, Lai Shao, walked along the golden passageway toward the battle platform in the distance. For a moment, countless deities looked over. Even the Starfield Patrol Master, the general of the garrisoned army, and the others on the distant platform also looked over. It has begun. Inside the palace, Dongbua Shuang and the others watched from afar. Most of them stood up and looked out through the palace's windows. Chapter 432. He stepped onto the stage. Countless deities were watching him, causing the deity called Lai Shao to grow excited. Begin. A golden-armored general shouted from the side of the stage. The hourglass floating above the stage began to glow as the sand of time flowed downwards. Die for me, the fierce shaman warrior roared. South. That godly expert called Lai Shao instantly turned into a blurry shadow. His flying speed was extremely fast, and he could probably cover close to 20,000 miles in a second. So fast. Dongbua Shuang couldn't help but be shocked as he watched from afar. His speed was already catching up to his own. The fierce shaman warrior roared as it chased after him, but it couldn't catch up no matter how hard it tried. Hua, 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 the fierce shaman warrior's body began to naturally disintegrate, and soon, it turned into 12 fierce shaman warriors that were about 5 meters tall. Although their speed did not increase, the 12 fierce shaman warriors surrounded him from different directions, making it impossible for the god-tier elite called Lai Shao to escape. However, Lai Shao began to fight the smaller fierce shaman warrior one-on-one with his speed. After the fierce shaman warrior's body disintegrates into 12 bodies, the strength of each clone is greatly reduced. Brother Lai Shao can easily defeat them one by one. Defeat them one by one? Generations of participants in the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast have tried to defeat them one by one, but how many of them have succeeded? Even if it's 12 clones, each clone isn't that easy to deal with. Everyone in the palace was discussing this. Dongbua Shuang, who was watching from afar, agreed with this point. The fierce shaman warrior was extremely powerful, and its comprehension of laws and profound mysteries was extremely high as well. It had almost no flaws. In fact, the strength of each clone wasn't any weaker than the Tower Taper Beast. Perhaps they were weaker than the Tower Taper Beast in terms of strength, but their speed and comprehension of laws and profound mysteries were all superior. 12 clones attacking one by one, trying to defeat them one by one. That was too difficult. Lai Shao used a pair of short spears. After barely piercing through a fierce shaman warrior clone, he was quickly surrounded by the remaining 11 fierce shaman warriors. He shouted, I admit defeat. I admit defeat. Ah. No. I admit defeat. One by one, they went up and admitted defeat. The few who refused to admit defeat even lost their lives. 102nd place, Zhang Qiu. Zhang Qiu looked like an ordinary deity, and he used a long staff. Impressive. Countless spectating deities exclaimed in admiration. What a powerful staff technique. It should be a secret skill he created himself. Dongbua Shuang nodded his head as he observed. This staff technique doesn't seem to be too eye-catching, but it has no weaknesses at all. Offense, defense, area of effect attacks, killing moves, psychedelic moves, this was a complete set of secret skills. Moreover, it was created based on the Grade 2 deity heart, the space deity heart. When the fierce shaman warrior realized that it was difficult to defeat the fierce shaman warrior one-on-one, it quickly split into 12 clones to surround the fierce shaman warrior. Under the combined attacks of the 12 clones, Zhang Qiu's staff was able to distort space itself. Its might was unfathomable, and after the first clone was defeated, more clones followed suit. After spending half a sand of time, Zhang Qiu defeated all the fierce shaman warrior clones and won. He was also the first person from the Mountain Wu star field to pass the preliminaries. God Spirit Zhang Qiu has passed the star field preliminaries, Patrol Master Guan, who was sitting high on the throne, immediately announced in a loud voice. Zhang Qiu. Amazing. Beautiful. Countless deities began to applaud like a tidal wave, engulfing the entire world. Zhang Qiu quickly walked down the stage and was led to the place where Patrol Master Guan and the others were seated. After Zhang Qiu was the first to pass the preliminaries, although there were still a large number of people who failed, there would still occasionally be a deity who passed. When the red-haired male wearing a half-mask walked up to the stage, countless deities began to pay attention to him. What a heavy baleful aura. Patrol Master Guan, General Tu, and a few other world deities also began to pay attention to him. For a deity to have such a heavy baleful aura, he must have had some special encounters. Look at his eyes. TSK, I think highly of him. He should be able to pass the preliminaries. I think so too. Patrol Master Guan and the others were chatting. They were also able to judge the strength of the red-haired male based on his eyes, temperament, and many other aspects. Clearly, the baleful aura of this red-haired male was too eye-catching. On the stage, the red-haired male, Shui Yun, clashed with the fierce shaman warrior. The red-haired male's blade techniques were fast and incomparably tyrannical, and his killing intent surged as he fought. Any ordinary deity would have felt their hearts tremble in the face of such killing intent. However, the fierce shaman warrior was a deity warrior, so it didn't care about killing intent or baleful aura. This sort of battle was extremely bitter, but after half an hour, the red-haired male, Shui Yun, succeeded in breaking through each and every one of the clones. Shui Yun became the fifth person to pass the Starfield selections. The order of battle was not the same as the order of registration. The order of the talismans during registration was mainly used to record information. As such, even though Dongbua Shuang had registered earlier, it was not his turn to fight. 1122nd, 7th Mayu. Accompanied by the voice of the scarlet-armored general, the white-robed handsome youth walked out of the palace. For a moment, countless deities turned to look at him. It's him. The woman sitting there now is his subordinate. This white-robed youth definitely has an extraordinary background. Let's see how powerful he is. News spread extremely quickly among deities, not to mention that this prince had arrived openly. For a moment, the attention of the countless spectators was focused on this battle. They weren't the only ones looking forward to it. Even the world deities on the platform were looking forward to it. His Highness has come out. Patrol Master Guan beamed at the beautiful woman beside him. With His Highness's strength, he will definitely pass the selections. The beautiful woman nodded. That's only natural. His Highness's bearing is extraordinary, and he seems to be the calmest of the lot. This was the first time the black-robed old man praised him. To remain so calm despite being stared at by countless deities, to be able to cultivate his heart to such an extent, I truly admire him. The other world deities present also praised him. Although it was somewhat like flattery, it wasn't a lie. After all, the gazes of deities carried a certain amount of pressure. To be stared at by countless deities, if it were a transcendent, his soul would most likely be unable to withstand the pressure and explode. Even deities would usually lose control of their state of mind. They would either become fanatical or excited. It would be extremely difficult to remain unmoved. But clearly, this prince had managed to do it. Begin. The start of the battle was announced. His Highness 7th Mayu extended his left hand, grabbing a snow-white sheathed sword as he calmly stared at the fierce shaman warrior. Roar! The fierce shaman warrior roared. His Highness 7th Mayu was incomparably calm. He unsheathed his sword. Hua! An incomparably dazzling sword light streaked across the sky like a snow-white waterfall. Hua hua hua. His Highness 7th Meiyu's figure was like an illusion as he walked around the fierce shaman warrior. His sword light lit up one after another, each sword stronger than the one before. Pooh! The fierce shaman warrior's body abruptly exploded. Only then did His Highness 7th Meiyu stop. He sheathed his sword, still as calm as ever. The countless spectating deities were silent at first, but then they erupted into an uproar. Cheers and gasps of admiration mixed together and resounded throughout the sky. It was simply inconceivable. This was the only deity who hadn't waited for the fierce shaman warrior to split into 12. Instead, he had taken advantage of the moment when the fierce shaman warrior was at its strongest to defeat it head-on. 15 swords. Just 15 swords, but the power of the sword grew stronger and stronger. On the 15th sword, he destroyed the fierce shaman warrior head-on. Patrol Master Guan could not help but laugh. Repairing this fierce shaman warrior will take quite some time. The fierce shaman warrior was made of special materials, which allowed it to be repaired very quickly. As expected of His Highness, he was able to defeat the fierce shaman warrior's strongest form head-on. Formidable. The world deities present all praised him. The beautiful lady smiled. Passing the preliminaries was already difficult, and the others had barely managed to do so. His Highness, 7th Meiyu, on the other hand, easily defeated the fierce shaman warrior in 15 swords. Later on, more and more deities went up to fight, only to be defeated one after another. The countless spectating deities had yet to calm down. Although they were watching the battle, they were still discussing His Highness 7th Meiyu. 1200. Dongbua. The scarlet-armored general at the entrance of the palace shouted another name. Chapter 433. Currently, there were only about 300 people in the hall. Upon hearing the shouts from outside, Dongbua Shuang stood up and walked towards the entrance of the hall. As soon as he reached the entrance, Dongbua Shuang saw countless deities looking in his direction. It's coming. This is the first time I'll reveal my true abilities in the deity world. Dongbua Shuang stepped out of the hall and onto the golden pathway. Dongbua. It's Dongbua. Countless deities who had come to watch the Starfield selections turned their gazes towards him. Who's Dongbua? He seems to be quite famous. He whipped the soaring Cloud Lake's young master with his heart-branding whip in public. What? You don't even know who he is? You should know about the patrolling army, right? A small patrolling army team attacked Dongbua, but they were easily defeated. No matter how powerful the patrolling army team is, they can't compare to the fierce shaman warrior. Defeating a patrolling army team doesn't mean he'll win. The fierce shaman warrior is indeed powerful, but I think Dongbua should be able to win. Countless deities discussed among themselves. Dongbua Shuang was quite famous among the participants. Everyone believed that he had a high chance of passing the Starfield selections, but he could also fail. After all, even if the fierce shaman warrior was split into 12, any one of them would be much stronger than an ordinary patrolling army team. He thinks he can pass the Starfield selections? Among the countless deities watching the Starfield selections, the soaring Cloud Lake's young master, Jin Meiyang, sneered. The fierce shaman warrior is an extremely rare and precious warrior. It was custom-made by the Bloodshed God Palace to be used as an opponent in the Starfield selections. It's much stronger than a small patrolling army team. If he overestimates himself, he might even lose his life. Yes, young master. This Dongbua is too arrogant and overestimates himself. I think he'll most likely lose his life this time. In a battle of life and death, he'll lose his life if he's even slightly careless. He'll definitely die. The subordinates next to him immediately agreed. This made the young master of the soaring Cloud Lake even more ferocious. He looked at this scene with anticipation. Dongbua. Die. The fierce shaman warrior is extremely powerful. You will definitely die, definitely. Dongbua Shuang, he is the deity of the Xia people. Yun Hai was incomparably excited amidst the crowd of deities. He looked on in anticipation. This is the first time a deity of the Xia people is participating in the Starfield preliminaries. There were quite a few Xia people who became gods. However, no one had ever participated in the Starfield preliminaries before. Dongbua Shuang was the first. As Dongbua Shuang walked on the golden pathway, he could hear countless voices in the world. These were the voices of the countless deities who were watching. Everyone's gazes were focused on him. Even his gaze is so oppressive. Dongbua Shuang exclaimed inwardly, if I hadn't grasped the world deity heart, I would probably be affected by so many gazes. After all, he had only cultivated for 2,000 years. It was too short, too young. However, after grasping the world deity heart, he was able to tolerate everything in the world. These gazes could not affect him in the slightest. What a powerful mental state. The eyes of most of the world deities on the platform lit up. He should have only cultivated for 2,000 years or so, yet he is able to remain unmoved by the gazes of countless deities. It is truly rare. Only 2,000 years. Patrol Master Guan was astonished. My realm is slightly lower, so I could only tell that he had cultivated for less than 5,000 years. Who would have thought that he had only cultivated for 2,000 years? Youth can only represent potential. It cannot represent strength. The soaring cloud lake master smiled. This Dongbua, his mental state is indeed not bad. However, I'm afraid it will be quite difficult for him to pass the Starfield preliminaries. Jin Fei Yun. A tall, skinny man wrapped in white robes sneered. I heard that your son was whipped quite a few times by this Dongbua with the heart-branding whip. Ha, Jin Fei Yun, even if your son was whipped in anger, you can't be so biased. I'm quite optimistic about this Dongbua. The other world deities were more than happy to see the soaring cloud lake master lose face. The green-bearded Jin Fei Yun laughed. I should be thanking him for whipping my son. After all, my son is a bit too arrogant. As for his strength? I'm not speaking carelessly. With his strength, it will be quite difficult for him to defeat the fierce shaman warrior. In this Starfield preliminaries of our Mountain Wu Starfield, in terms of strength, the one with the most potential to shine in the future, is still His Highness, 7th Meiyu. In the end, this Dongbua is still lacking compared to His Highness, 7th Meiyu. His Highness, 7th Meiyu, is indeed formidable. His Highness easily defeated the fierce shaman warrior in just 15 sword strikes. Moreover, it was the fierce shaman warrior in its strongest form, one world deity after another praised 7th Meiyu. The beautiful woman seated high above smiled. Although she felt that Dongbua Shuang was young and had potential, how could he compare to Her Highness? The difference was naturally too great. Dongbua Shuang walked through the golden passageway and finally stepped onto the stage. On the platform, Dongbua Shuang suddenly felt the surrounding noises become much quieter. Countless deities, including the world deities on the distant platform, were staring at him, waiting for the battle to begin. Amen. Dongbua Shuang turned his head to look at the distant platform. With a single glance, he saw the master of the soaring cloud lake, Jin Fei Yun. He probably hopes for me to be defeated so that I won't be able to continue participating in the myriad flower feast. Then, as soon as I enter the bloodshed region, I'll be at his mercy. What a pity. You'll be disappointed. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. He then looked at the opponent in front of him. The fierce shaman warrior's body was covered in brown fur, and its face was fair. Its beady eyes stared at Dongbua Shuang, flickering with an ominous glint. Begin, the golden-armored general's voice boomed out, reverberating throughout the world. Inside the stage, the hourglass suspended in midair began to turn upside down, and the sands of time began to flow. Dongbua Shuang looked at the fierce shaman warrior in front of him. With a wave of his right hand, a thick black spear appeared in his hand. This spear was also the standard weapon provided by the patrol master. Ho! The fierce shaman warrior first raised its head and roared, its roar producing shockwaves visible to the naked eye. Dongbua Shuang continued to watch calmly. The fierce shaman warrior was slightly startled. Based on its experience, its opponents would usually run at full speed, using their speed to increase the distance between them and force it to split into 12 clones. However, this starry blue-robed youth in front of it was actually standing there without moving. This caused it to feel puzzled. You're actually not running? Brat, die. The fierce shaman warrior revealed its ferocious mouth and stomped on the ground of the platform. So. It transformed into a ray of light. The fierce shaman warrior charged forward with incomparable savagery. If it were to split into 12 clones, the power of each clone would decrease. As such, it was at its most perfect when it was not split. The laws of profound mysteries of strength and speed were balanced in all aspects. If the taper beast was compared to it, the latter would be too stupid and would be easily defeated. Hong, the fierce shaman warrior pounced forward, its pair of sharp claws striking out at the same time. A black and white vortex could be faintly seen on its claws. One claw was surrounded by a black vortex, while the other was surrounded by a white vortex. Even the surrounding space began to distort. Dongbua Shuang finally moved. Hong. At once, he waved the spear with both hands, raising it high and hacking down furiously. As he hacked down, the surrounding dark stars began to revolve, causing everything around him to collapse and be destroyed. The entire spear seemed to turn black. After entering the deity world and cultivating for more than 300 years, the secret skill that Dongbua Shuang had spent the most effort on, the chaotic suppression, had become even more perfect. His strength had reached the threshold of a world deity, and the secret skill that he used was even more powerful, the chaotic suppression. This secret skill had been created when he was still a transcendent. It was also combined with the world deity grade secret skill, the great chaotic true force. This secret skill had been perfected to an extremely high level. In the past, when Dongbua Shuang fought against the taper beast, because the taper beast's realm was relatively low, he had relied on brute force to defeat it. He had not even used this secret skill. Amen. The fierce shaman warrior was startled. Its figure flickered as it attempted to dodge the spear, its long claws continuing to attack. But no matter how it tried to dodge, the spear came slashing down. It was filled with a majestic aura, like an endless black hole that could devour everything. No matter how it tried, it could not be dodged and could only face it head-on. You want to face me head-on? The fierce shaman warrior raised both its claws to block the spear. It was prepared to block the attack first before tearing apart the youth in front of it. Pang! The claws and the spear clashed. An endless amount of terrifying power passed through the claws and into the fierce shaman warrior's body. The fierce shaman warrior's eyes widened, and with a pang, its entire body exploded. Hua! After that furious spear strike, Dongbua Shuang charged forward for another 30 meters before stopping. The world suddenly turned silent, complete silence. Whether it was the countless deities watching the battle, the young master of the soaring cloud lake, Yunhai, or the world deities on the high platform. All of them were staring at the dueling platform in silence. This scene caused all of the spectators to be somewhat dazed. One move. Just a furious spear strike had caused the fierce shaman warrior to explode. Both sides clashed, and the fierce shaman warrior exploded. Dongbua Shuang turned his head to look at the high platform. At this time, the Starfield Patrol Master Guan finally came to his senses. Unable to conceal his excitement, he stood up and announced, Deity Dongbua has defeated the fierce shaman warrior in one move. He has passed the Starfield preliminaries. Chapter 434. The countless spectators, who had been silent all this while, suddenly burst into an uproar. Cheers, shouts, exclamations, and discussions mixed together to form a huge sound wave that engulfed the world. Too powerful. This is crazy. One move, just one move, and the fierce shaman warrior exploded. This is even more powerful than His Highness. This dong bow is too strong. It looks like my Mountain Wu Star Field is going to show its face this time. I dare say that this dong bow will be very dazzling even during the prefecture capital's bloody selections. I must go there and watch the battle. Teleporting to the prefectural bloody selection costs 20 deity crystals. Isn't it just 20 deity crystals? How many years can we live after becoming deities? If we live for too long, we'll go crazy and our true deity hearts will collapse. To be able to watch a deity of the Mountain Wu Star Field display his abilities in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast, let alone 20 deity crystals, even 100 would be worth it. These deities were all incomparably excited. Peak deities usually only had a few hundred deity crystals. If it was a late-stage or mid-stage deity, the amount of divinity crystals accumulated would be even less. Just one teleportation cost 20 deity crystals. The price was too high, but for the sake of watching the battle, they were willing to go all out. Let's go all out. Too powerful. I've lived for more than 30 million years, and I've seen a total of 4 Starfield selections. This one is the most powerful. I thought that His Highness was already very powerful, but this dong bow, he really scared me. He's definitely the most powerful deity I've ever seen. I must go to the prefectural bloody selection, even if it costs 20 deity crystals. In the past, even if they passed the Starfield selections, they wouldn't have any hope of standing out in the prefectural bloody selection. But this dong bow, I feel that he can make a name for himself. He even has a high chance of representing the entire Calm Sea Prefecture in the Bloodshed God Palace. In front of His Majesty, in front of all the powerful existences, he'll participate in the final Bloodshed God Palace battle. Ah, this is someone from our Mountain Wu Star Field. These deities were incomparably excited. Too powerful. Among the countless spectators, the Soaring Cloud Lake's young master Jin Meiyang's face turned ashen. He even noticed that many deities nearby were looking at him. Damn it! Jin Meiyang gritted her teeth. Jin Meiyang looked at Dongbua Shuang, who was being led by a soldier to the high platform. This scene made Jin Meiyang feel as if his heart was being bitten by countless insects. How can he be so strong? He's this strong. At this moment, Jin Meiyang finally understood that when Dongbua Shuang fought with him previously, he was just toying with him. From the beginning to the end, he did not reveal his true strength. Does this mean that I will never have the chance to take revenge? No, there is also the bloody screening in the prefecture capital. Although he is powerful, the prefecture capital is the place where the entire Calm Sea Prefecture is screened. Furthermore, the screening is extremely bloody and cruel, so it is very likely that he will die during the selection. Jin Meiyang understood that he did not have the strength to take revenge. But the viciousness in his bones made him look forward to Shui Ying's downfall. This way, please. The soldier led the way. Dongbua Shuang followed suit, walking towards the high platform. At the highest point of the high platform were the patrol master and the beautiful woman, while the world deities and the black-robed old man sat to their sides. Below them were the deities who had passed the selection, including Tsung Chiu, the red-haired man with half a mask, and His Highness, 7th Meiyu. All of them were seated there. Please. Dongbua Shuang was led to a seat as well. Those who had passed through the selections were seated in order, so Shuang was naturally seated next to the handsome white-robed teenager, His Highness 7th Meiyu. Little friend Dongbua, your strength is truly formidable. The patrol master looked down at Dongbua Shuang with a smile. For our Mountain Wu Star Field to produce such an expert is truly our Mountain Wu Star Field's fortune. This time, it seems that I, Old Guan, will have to show my face in the prefecture capital. Ha! When the time comes, I will have the qualifications to boast and show off in front of the army lord, the black-robed old man said with a smile. The two big shots of the mountain Wu star fields simultaneously praised. The other world deities also began to praise Dongbua Shuang. It seems that little friend Dongbua and I are fated to meet, the Soaring Cloud Lake's master, Jin Fei Yun, said. Last time, I could tell that little friend's strength was extraordinary, and I was afraid that a mere projection of mine wouldn't be able to deal with him. But now, it seems that I have underestimated little friend. Last time, both of us weren't in our true bodies. Now that we meet again, I have to thank little friend. Honestly, after receiving a few whips from you, my son has become much more obedient. Jin Fei Yun, your skin is truly thick. Isn't it common knowledge that his skin is thick? Little friend Dongbua, you have to give it your all. Who knows, you might be able to pass through the prefecture capital selections. At that time, you will be qualified to enter the Bloodshed God Palace and participate in the Bloodshed God Palace battle. Given your age, it should be easy for you to enter the tutelage of a powerful existence. When the time comes, I might need little friend Dongbua to take care of me. These world deities didn't put on any airs when facing Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuang could only respond with one or two sentences or a smile. Formidable. He's much more formidable than us. If we go to the prefecture capital and admit defeat, we might be able to survive. This Dongbua is truly formidable. Including Dongbua Shuang, there were a total of 12 people who had passed through the selections. The rest of them were quietly discussing the matter through voice transmissions. The solitary red-haired man, who was emanating a baleful aura, watched everything coldly and snorted faintly. Dongbua Shuaying's ears were extremely sensitive, and he heard the cold snort as well. He turned his head and saw that the red-haired man was also looking at Dongbua Shuang coldly. This person's baleful aura is quite heavy, and his temper is quite strange. Dongbua Shuang had originally intended to befriend him, but he immediately gave up on the idea. Not suitable. Your spear technique is quite formidable. A voice came from the side. It was clear and cold, but it was pleasing to the ears. Dongbua Shuang turned his head and saw that it was the white-robed handsome youth, His Highness 7th Meiyu. His Highness 7th Meiyu was dressed in white, and his entire body was clean and clean. His aura was like that of a 10,000-year-old glacier. Even though it was cold, it was clean and pure. His eyes were clear and penetrating, as if there were no impurities in them. When making friends, everyone liked to be straightforward. His Highness 7th Meiyu, Dongbua Shuang, seemed to be the kind of person who didn't like to play tricks. His every word and action was straightforward. It's just that I'm slightly stronger, Dongbua Shuang said modestly. If it's just your strength, the fierce shaman warrior's laws of profound mysteries are able to neutralize 99% of the force. On the other hand, it couldn't neutralize the force of your spear technique at all. Instead, it directly seeped into its body, causing it to explode in an instant, 7th Meiyu said. Such a spear technique is extremely difficult to block. His Highness's sword technique is also very powerful. I specialize in strength, so I succeeded in one move. His Highness's sword technique is unpredictable, which is why I needed 15 moves to kill him. His Highness and I specialize in different aspects. Dongbua Shuang said. These were his heartfelt words. His Highness 7th Meiyu was indeed very powerful. 7th Meiyu nodded lightly. You don't need to call me Highness. Just call me Meiyu. Brother Meiyu. Dongbua Shuang called out. Brother Dongbua. 7th Meiyu nodded slightly. Even though he was a proud and aloof person, he still had sufficient respect for powerful experts. Clearly, Dongbua Shuang was the only one worthy of his respect. As for the others, he ignored them. Time passed. Battle after battle continued. However, there were no longer any deity experts like Dongbua Shuang or 7th Meiyu, who could easily kill the fierce shaman warrior. The world deities on the high platform were also casually watching the battles, occasionally chatting with each other. Little friend Dongbua, the patrol master, suddenly called out. Patrol master, Dongbua Shuang hastily replied. I wonder which star of our Mountain Wu star field, little friend Dongbua, are you from? Patrol master Guan smiled. Or are you from somewhere else? If you're from my Mountain Wu star field, as the patrol master of this star field, I might be able to lend you a hand. Dongbua Shuang understood that this patrol master thought highly of him and was expressing his goodwill. He immediately said, Thank you, patrol master. However, I'm not from any star of the Mountain Wu star field. My hometown isn't in the deity world, but in the material world. Material world? Patrol master Guan nodded in surprise. Oh, so a deity expert has appeared in the material world. How rare. You said that you're from the material world? The beautiful woman beside Patrol Master Guan suddenly asked. You've only cultivated for 2,000 years, yet you've already reached such a realm. Furthermore, you're from the material world. In that case, have you already refined the heart of the realm and become a lord of the material world? Shua. Immediately, the gazes of Patrol Master Guan, General Tu, the group of world deities, 7th Meiyu, and the others who had passed the Starfield selections all landed on Dongbua Shuang. A lord of the material world. Chapter 435. This Madame Sang was absolutely right. He had cultivated for less than 10,000 years, yet his realm was already so high, and he was born in the material realm. It was almost certain that he was a lord of a material realm. I was just lucky. Dongbua Shuang laughed, admitting it very naturally. A lord of a material realm? He really is a lord of a material realm? The other deities who had passed through the Starfield selections looked at Dongbua Shuang with shock and envy. The half-masked red-haired man had a complicated look in his eyes as well. He couldn't be jealous even if he wanted to. Even the high-ranking 7th Meiyu looked at Dongbua Shuang and couldn't help but say, I really envy brother Dongbua. Ha ha ha, the patrol master seated on his throne laughed and sighed. Little friend Dongbua is truly admirable and enviable. His strength is so high at such a young age, and his future is limitless. But he's actually a lord of a material realm. I'm very envious. I'm even willing to exchange all my treasures and even my position as the Starfield Patrol Master, just to become a lord of a material realm. Unfortunately, there's no way to exchange for that. Patrol Master Guan, even if you were born in the material realm, I'm afraid you wouldn't be able to become a lord of a material realm. The black-robed elder, General Tu, said, there aren't any powerful seniors in the material realm. As for demigod transcendence, demigod transcendents only have an inkling of the laws of heaven and earth. Their guidance might even make the path of cultivation more difficult. Dongbua Shuang nodded. That's right. The higher one's realm, the more one would understand how difficult it was to guide others in cultivation, unless they were like powerful existences, who had already transcended the laws of heaven and earth. Their guidance was the one that truly hit the nail on the head, pointing straight to the essence. As for the guidance he received from Si Kong Yang and the rest when he was still young and inexperienced, perhaps it would have been fine if they had only given guidance to ordinary transcendents, but if they had given guidance to the truly talented ones, it would have been misleading. Si Kong Yang and the rest couldn't be blamed. They were only demigods back then, and their understanding of the laws of heaven and earth was too shallow. Without a good teacher, one has to figure everything out on their own. To reach the peak of the deity realm within 10,000 years is simply too difficult. The black-robed elder sighed. Everything has its two sides. The beautiful woman sitting at the very top also said, without the guidance of a good master, although cultivation is difficult, once you succeed, you will become a material world lord. After becoming a lord of a material world, as long as one cultivates a doppelganger technique, leaving one body in the material world and the other outside, no matter how powerful a world deity is, they will not be able to kill a lord of a material world. Yes. Patrol Master Guan, General Tu, the other universe gods, including those who had passed the star field preliminaries, were all extremely envious. That was right. It was impossible for anyone below the Almighty to kill a material world lord. Even the lofty stage 4 world deities whose strength was close to that of powerful existences would at most be able to kill the avatars of the lords of a material realm. The true body of the lords of a material realm, on the other hand, was absolutely safe. After all, how many almighty existences were there in the entire god realm? It was very difficult to provoke a powerful existence. In the immortal world, one had to be wary of provoking a powerful enemy, or accidentally provoking an existence with a powerful background. However, becoming a lord of a material world was equivalent to having a supreme protective talisman. Even if others wanted to offend such an existence, they would have to think twice before making an enemy out of an unkillable existence. Furthermore, a material world lord could go adventuring in places without fear of death, obtaining treasures. I'm so envious. Everyone present was envious. Being born in the deity world and the material world had its pros and cons. In the deity world, the energy of the world was much more turbulent, and becoming a transcendent was much easier. Moreover, those with sufficient talent could easily receive guidance from powerful seniors. Some might even be taken in as disciples by powerful world deities. World deities all grasped hold of at least a grade 1 deity heart, and their guidance would be of great help to one's cultivation. The path of cultivation would be 10 to 100 times easier. As for the material world, everything depended on oneself. Reaching the peak of the deity realm within 10,000 years was much harder than in the deity world. However, in the material world, even if one could not become a lord of a material world, it was still safer, unlike in the deity world. Everything had its pros and cons. Brother Dongbua, have you cultivated a doppelganger technique? Her Highness 7th Mayu suddenly asked. Everyone present reacted, and the patrol master hurriedly asked, Little friend Dongbua, you didn't come here with your real body, did you? I have indeed cultivated a doppelganger technique. Dongbua Shuang nodded without hiding anything. Why are you so? The patrol master couldn't help but shake his head. Cultivating a doppelganger technique causes your soul to split into two, which will affect your comprehension of cultivation. You can always cultivate it again and wait for the next myriad flower feast. Dongbua Shuang laughed. Wait for another 10 million years. It's not that I'm arrogant, but I feel that I should have become a world deity in 10 million years. MN, Patrol Master Guan and the other world deities agreed inwardly. To reach such a realm in 2,000 years, becoming a world deity in 10 million years was indeed an easy task. At that time, I won't be able to participate in the myriad flower feast and enjoy the myriad flower true fruit. Dongbua Shuang laughed. My current cultivation has reached a bottleneck, and I'm only a small step away from becoming a world deity. However, this step is like a heavenly moat that cannot be completed in a short period of time. Thus, after much consideration, I decided to cultivate a doppelganger technique and participate in the myriad flower feast. Firstly, I can use this opportunity to temper my strength. Secondly, as long as I can head to the Bloodshed God Palace, I believe that with my years of cultivation, I will have a high chance of becoming a disciple of a powerful existence. The beautiful woman said, Little friend Dongbua, as long as you head to the Bloodshed God Palace, you will definitely become a disciple of a powerful existence. With the guidance of a powerful existence, I believe that I will be able to break through the final step much faster. Dongbua Shuang laughed. Being able to participate in the myriad flower feast, enjoying the myriad flower true fruit, and becoming a disciple of a powerful existence earlier, for many reasons, I feel that it is worth cultivating a doppelganger technique. That's true. There are gains and losses. The myriad flower true fruit's assistance to one's soul can completely make up for the loss of splitting into two. The world deities all understood Dongbua Shuaying's choice. Either he would silently cultivate in seclusion for millions or tens of millions of years, or he would dazzlingly participate in the myriad flower feast and become a disciple of a powerful existence. It was likely that many would choose the latter. The entire Starfield selections were still in progress. Even though there were some who managed to pass the selections, the Patrol Master, General 2, and the world deities on the high platform were still chatting casually with Shuang. Clearly, Dongbo Shuaying's position in their hearts had risen significantly. Finally, after a full 12 days of Starfield selections, the Mountain Wu Starfield selections finally came to an end. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast has officially ended with the Starfield selections of my Mountain Wu Starfield. A total of 16 deities from my Mountain Wu Starfield have passed, including stunning experts like Dongbua and 7th Meiyu. I believe that the deities of my Mountain Wu Starfield will be able to display their true strength in the prefecture battle, and they might even have the chance to represent the Calm Sea Prefecture in the Bloodshed God Palace. The final Bloodshed God Palace battle will be held in front of His Majesty and the powerful existences. Patrol Master Guan's voice was brimming with confidence. Below, the soldiers of the Legion were maintaining order, allowing the spectators to leave the Bloodshed region. Let's go. Patrol Master Guan also looked around. The 16 who passed the preliminaries will also follow me to my mansion. Stay there for a year, and after that, I'll bring all of you to the prefecture battle. If you have any subordinates or friends, you can bring them along. My mansion is very large, and you can all stay there. Powerful deities usually had their own subordinates and followers. Soon, Patrol Master Guan, Madame Sang, General 2, and a group of world deities flew majestically in the sky. 7th Meiyu, Eastern Europe's Snow Eagle, and the rest of the 16 deities were behind them, each with their own people. Dongbua Shuang only brought Yunhai with him. His Highness, 7th Meiyu, had brought the most people with her. A group of white-robed maids followed her, and every single one of them was an extraordinary deity. They were probably much stronger than the soldiers of the Legion. Dongbua, I'm about to go crazy from watching this, Yunhai said as he flew beside Dongbua Shuang. Should we tell the Xia people about this? Let them be happy as well. Let's tell them, Dongbua Shuang said with a smile. Alright, I'll tell them, including Violet Thunder and the others. Let them be happy. Yunhai could hardly conceal his excitement. Dongbua Shuang smiled faintly. Under Patrol Master Guan's lead, although Dongbua Shuang and the others weren't flying very fast, the space around them was constantly changing. Patrol Master Guan was, after all, in charge of the city. Thus, it only took a moment for Dongbua Shuang to see the extravagant mansion in the distance, the mansion of the Lord Patrol Master. Chapter 436. Dongbua Shuang and Yunhai were temporarily staying at the Chief Patrol's mansion. Meanwhile, in different regions of the Divine World, the ancestor deities of the Xia clan who were still alive had all received the news from the Cloud Sea. Dong Bo passed the Star Field preliminaries and defeated the fierce shaman warrior with just one move. The amiable-looking old man, the Purple Thunder Emperor, who was currently stationed on a star, was overjoyed when he received the news. Excellent. This is the first person in the history of the Xia people to participate in the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast. Dong Bo truly lives up to his reputation as the strongest deity in the history of the Xia people. Emin, I'll definitely be there to watch the Calm Sea Prefecture's prefecture capital battle. Although the army had its own rules, it wasn't as if they were completely heartless. After all, what kind of grand occasion was the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast? These soldiers could also send divine power clones to watch the battle, and they would be sent over in batches. Even the teleportation fee was waived. The Purple Thunder Emperor didn't go to watch the Star Zone preliminaries because he was more engrossed in the Tao of Alchemy. However, he knew that Dong Bo was going to participate in the prefecture city battle, so he naturally had to go. Myriad Flower Feast, Prefecture Battle. One of the ancestors of the Xia people, a loner who had also reached the peak of the deity level, the Crimson Flame Emperor, was incomparably excited when he heard the news. Wonderful, wonderful. I must definitely go and watch the prefectural city battles. Good heavens. Dongbua is really amazing. He defeated the fierce shaman warrior with a single move. I'm too weak, and I've offended enemies. I'm in hiding now. Why don't I go to the prefectural city and seek refuge with Dongbo? Most of the ancestors of the Xia people decided to head to the Calm Sea Prefecture city, with the exception of a few who were unable to make it to the Calm Sea Prefecture. There were even some who were too weak and had to sell their deity weapons and treasures to gather 20 deity crystals to spectate the battle. This way, they would be able to rely on Dongbua Shuang when the time came. After all, Dongbua Shuang could be considered as a huge backer. Hugging onto this thick thigh would make their days much better. In the future, when Dongbua Shuang's status rises and he becomes stronger, he would definitely trust the Xia people even more. After the ancestors of the Xia people heard the news, they were all excited and proud. In the physical realm, within the world of the Xia people, the news of Dongbua Shuang passing the preliminaries of the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast was known to very few. That generation is getting fewer and fewer. Dongbua Shuang, who was dressed in white, stood at the top of Snowrock Mountain, looking at the world from afar. His eyes pierced through the obstacles of space and saw Emperor Xia's city. He had cultivated for more than 2,300 years. Even if he subtracted the 600 years of time acceleration, it would still be more than 1,700 years. After so many years, the Palace Lord Chen, Mountain Lord He, Si Kong Yang, City Lady Bu, Grand Elder Palace Head, Master Gong Yu, and the others had long reached the end of their lifespans. Dongbua Shuang had reconstructed their fleshly bodies and sent them into the Crimson Rock Mountain world. As for Pu Yangbo, Zhang Peng, Yu Feng, and the other good brothers, they had all failed to become demigods and were sent into the Crimson Rock Mountain world as well. Of course, his younger brother, Dongbua Qingshi, had finally become a demigod under Dongbua Shuang's careful guidance, but it was barely enough. Dongbua Shuang reckoned that it would be very difficult for his younger brother to become a demigod, and that he would have to reconstruct his fleshly body and send it into the Crimson Rock Mountain world. Snow Eagle, what's wrong? Jing Qiu appeared at his side. There are happy things, but there are fewer people to share them with, Dongbua Shuang said. You don't intend to tell Yu, and Qing Yao about the preliminaries of the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast? Jing Qiu asked. There's no need to tell them. Dongbua Shuang said, Yu, and Qing Yao should first train them. Once they are strong enough, we'll send them into Crimson Rock Mountain. Once they become honorary disciples of Crimson Rock Mountain, they'll be able to temper themselves in the world of Crimson Rock Mountain. Jing Qiu was somewhat worried. Crimson Rock Mountain's trial is very dangerous. What about you, and Qing Yao? Don't worry, they're both very strong. They just need to temper their temperaments a bit more. Dongbua Shuang said. Even if they had to follow the rules of Crimson Rock Mountain's trial, his children were more than enough. His true body had cultivated the time-immemorial physique to the 4th level before he had children. Thus, the bloodlines of Dongbua Yu and Dongbua Qing Yao were extremely powerful. They were much stronger than any abyssal demon or primordial life form. They were already comparable to newly ascended deities when they reached adulthood, and after 500 years of cultivation and the guidance of a world deity like Dongbua Shuang, his children's strength had risen to a whole new level. Passing the trial was very easy, and because their bodies were extremely strong, their souls were also sufficiently strong. They were also confident of passing the soul trial. More importantly, Dongbua Shuang was the master of Crimson Rock Mountain. His children were going to challenge it. How could they fail? He was only putting on an act for his wife and his 2 senior brothers to see. In any case, you've already gone through the trial, so you should be very clear about the dangers of Crimson Rock Mountain. You should take care of it yourself. If you think that you, and Qing Yao can pass, then let them in, Jing Qiu said. Don't worry, I won't harm them. Dongbu Shuang smiled. Right, Snow Eagle, I have some good news to tell you, Jing Qiu said. Good news? Dongbu Shuaying's eyes brightened as he looked at his wife's belly. You're pregnant again. His true body had already become a world deity, so how could he have another child so easily? What are you thinking about? Jing Qiu helplessly said, I'm saying that I've already grasped the grade 2 deity heart, the primordial frost deity heart. Primordial frost deity heart? Dongbu Shuang was startled. What deity heart is that? As the master of Crimson Rock Mountain, he knew many secrets, but he had never heard of the primordial frost deity heart. It's the name I came up with after condensing my deity heart. Jing Qiu said, it's the pinnacle of frost, so I decided on this name. I feel that as long as I continue to cultivate and evolve, the primordial frost deity heart will have a chance of evolving into the primal chaos deity heart. However, that's still a long way off. I've only grasped the basics of a grade 2 deity heart. I'm still far from reaching the peak of the deity realm. After Chao Qing and me, our Xia people will finally have another deity. Dongbu Shuang was quite happy. You're nearing the end of your lifespan. I've always been afraid that you won't be able to comprehend it before your time comes. Didn't I comprehend it already? I'm preparing to break through tonight. Alright, I'll protect you. That night, a huge illusion of an ocean appeared in the sky of the Xia people's world once more. It was vast and majestic, covering an area of 50,000 kilometers. Clearly, it was a grade 2 deity heart that had become a deity. Jing Qiu was dressed in a light blue robe. She sat cross-legged in a quiet room within Snowrock Castle. Dongbu Shuang stood guard outside the room. With the primordial frost deity heart as the core, it would become the true deity heart. Opening the deity sea, giving birth to deity power. Jing Qiu's aura gradually began to change. An icy aura of deity power began to spread, causing even the floor of the quiet room to freeze. Suddenly, Jing Qiu opened her eyes. Her brows furrowed, and she couldn't help but clutch her head. Several breaths later, her brows relaxed, and she calmly looked forward. However, her eyes were cold and distant. I've become a deity. That's great. Jing Qiu suddenly smiled brightly. Snow Eagle, you, Qingyao, the heavens are so kind to me. Jing Qiu stood up, and the door to the quiet room opened. Seeing his wife walk out, Dongbu Shuang was somewhat stunned. His wife was smiling happily, and it was a smile that came from the bottom of her heart. Jing Qiu, look at how happy you are. Dongbu Shuang laughed. Jing Qiu reached out and hugged Dongbu Shuaying's arm. I've become a deity. Of course I'm happy. I can spend a long time with you, our son and daughter. Snow Eagle, I've always wanted to accompany you to the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast. But I couldn't become a deity until now. I want to cultivate a clone technique so that I can accompany you in the deity realm. Cultivate a clone technique? Dongbu Shuang hurriedly said, it will affect your cultivation. It's fine. Do you want me to stay in the material realm forever? Or do you want my true body to go to the deity realm? Jing Qiu looked at Dongbu Shuang. Snow Eagle, senior brother Snow Eagle. Dongbu Shuang thought for a moment, then nodded with a smile. Alright, I'll bring you to see my two senior brothers. Inside Crimson Rock Mountain. The thick-robed youth, Gobai, and the scarlet-cloaked youth, He Feiyun, were both incomparably shocked. Brat, you secretly participated in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast? Gobai asked. Didn't I say it back then? It's the ancestors' orders, so of course I have to participate. Dongbu Shuang said, you guys also said that Crimson Rock Mountain disciples can't cultivate a clone technique, so I can only try to learn it outside. Right, my wife, Jing Qiu, is also preparing to go to the deity realm. Why don't you teach her a clone technique? She's not a Crimson Rock Mountain disciple, so she should be able to learn it. The two senior brothers looked at each other. All right. He Feiyin said, however, Junior Brother Snow Eagle, you must inform us of your participation in the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast. Don't worry, Dongbo Shuang hurriedly said. Thank you, senior brothers, Jing Qiu said from the side. You two husband and wife are truly enviable. The thick-robed youth, goodbye, laughed. Very quickly, Jing Qiu cultivated a clone technique. Crimson Rock Mountain helped her cultivate an embryo under the acceleration of time, and she quickly cultivated a clone. Following which, Jing Qiu's clone left the world of the Xia people. With enough deity crystals, she easily reached Mountain Wu City in the Mountain Wu Star Zone. You're Dongbu's wife. The soldiers at the main gate of the Starfield Patrol Master's mansion stared at the beautiful woman in deep blue robes in astonishment. She was truly beautiful. Even as deities, it was rare for them to see such a beautiful woman. I'll go inform them right away, one of the guards hurriedly said. Soon. Dongbo Shuang and Yunhai hurried over. The moment he saw his wife, Dongbo Shuang couldn't help but reveal a look of joy as he hurried over. You must be Mage Jing Qiu, Yunhai said with a smile. Yunhai laughed from the side. Dong Bo was just exchanging pointers with His Highness 7th Meiyu when he heard that you were coming. He immediately left 7th Meiyu behind and rushed over here. Star. Chapter 437. Greetings, Senior Yunhai. Jing Qiu hurriedly bowed to the Xia people. Don't. We're all deities now, so we should treat each other as peers, Yunhai said. Shuang pulled Jing Qiu's hand as they walked into the mansion. Let's not stand in front of the mansion's entrance. The guards are watching us. Jing Qiu looked at Dongbo Shuang with a smile that didn't seem like a smile. His Highness 7th Meiyu. Who? It sounds like a girl's name. A man. Dongbo Shuang said helplessly. A very powerful expert. He easily defeated the fierce shaman warrior in the Starfield selections, and his background is extraordinary. A Stage 2 world deity is only his subordinate. Jing Qiu was shocked. A Stage 2 world deity. What's his background? I don't know. Dongbo Shuang shook his head. His background is extraordinary. He might have used a treasure to hide his identity and aura. It's also possible that he's a woman disguised as a man, Jing Qiu said deliberately. And to spar with you? Dongbo Shuang clutched his forehead. They were an old couple, yet the first thing they did was tease him. Emperor Yunhai watched from the side with a smile, but there was a hint of loneliness in his eyes. After Jing Qiu's arrival, her days in the Patrol Master's mansion became much more relaxed and joyful. Her wife accompanied her every day, and she would occasionally spar with Her Highness 7th Meiyu. Their strength was similar, and it could be considered as preparation for the upcoming prefectural battle. Day after day passed, and the day of departure for the prefecture capital drew nearer. Rumble, within the meditation room. Shuang sat cross-legged on his bed. With a swipe of his finger, a rolling crimson stream of water danced in midair. This stream of water was formed from many droplets, and every single droplet was visible to the naked eye. As they moved, they brought with them an endless amount of power. It was so powerful that the surrounding space seemed to collapse and shrink. These crimson droplets of water danced around Shuang, and also danced in midair within the cultivation room. The Chaos Hold Deity Heart and the World Deity Heart are indeed different. Dongbo Shuang looked at the dark red water droplets dancing in the air. The World Deity Heart is more inclusive and balanced, while the Chaotic Deity Heart is more extreme. But because it was too extreme, it created a balance. Extreme. I need to break free from the World Deity Heart's influence and completely immerse myself in the mysteries of the Chaos Whole. Dongbo Shuang closed his eyes. After many years of cultivation, especially after perfecting his self-created secret technique, Chaotic Crush, Dongbu Shui Ying's understanding of the chaotic whole had deepened, and his state of mind was also getting closer. Countless profound mysteries appeared. Behind Dongbu Shui Ying, there was a faint shadow of collapsing darkness. This shadow of darkness was surrounded by a layer of light. The outer layer had a halo of light, and the inner layer was absolute darkness. Others could see it, but Dongbu Shuang was immersed in his comprehension, ignoring all these phenomena. That's right. Completely extreme seems to be wrong. But if one surges forward and becomes one, the end of the extreme is perfection. Dongbu Shuang suddenly had an epiphany, and he gained a clearer understanding of the chaotic deity heart. Although he had not completely grasped it, every small improvement he made was a step closer to success. Great chaotic true force, condense. Dongbu Shuang looked at the sky and took a deep breath. The dark red water droplets in the air immediately flew into Dongbu Shui Ying's mouth and entered his body. Within his deity sea, countless dark red water droplets were being transformed. Every water droplet became heavier and more collapsed, and its color became darker and darker, almost black. Drops of black water droplets appeared within his deity sea. Each black water droplet was incomparably heavy, and they could easily smash an ordinary peak stage deity to death. Yes, a single water droplet could smash a peak stage deity to death. The great chaotic true force truly specializes in extreme strength. Dongbu Shuang praised. The energy within his body was still transforming, but since he had already comprehended it, it would only take him a bit more time to transform it. He could already feel the might of the second stage of the great chaotic true force. It's not as good as the third stage of the time immemorial body in other aspects, but it's clearly stronger in terms of strength. The time immemorial scripture had a total of 9 stages. The deity realm had a total of 3 stages. Because he had participated in the God Palace Myriad Flower Feast, this body had naturally only reached the 3rd stage. However, he did not dare to reach the 4th stage. If he did, even a fool would be able to guess that he had grasped hold of a grade 1 deity heart. Looking at it again, he had only cultivated for 2,000 years. This was a grade 1 true meaning transcendent. The great chaotic true force had a total of 6 stages. The deity realm had a total of 2 stages. The time immemorial body specialized in survival, so even if he reached the 3rd stage of the deity realm, his strength and speed would only be at the threshold of a world deity. The great chaotic true force, on the other hand, specialized in strength. Once he reached the 2nd stage, his strength would be comparable to a stage 1 world deity. Of course, the main reason why world deities were so powerful was because of their comprehension of the realms. They could control an area of more than 100 million kilometers with a single thought, and their grade 1 deity hearts were even more mysterious and unfathomable. However, for him to be so powerful in terms of pure strength, he was already quite powerful amongst deities. The only ones who could compete with me in terms of strength are those who also cultivate in world deity-ranked secret techniques. Dongbu Shuang thought. Even if he had a world deity-ranked secret technique, cultivating it to the peak of the deity realm would not be an easy task. There's still half a month left before we head to the prefecture capital. If I can master it before the prefecture capital battle, my chances of success will increase by quite a bit. Dongbu Shuang was quite happy. Half a month later, Patrol Master Guan was leading the group of people who had passed the Starfield selections. His Highness 7th Meiyu, Dongbu Shuang, and the others were also leading their own people. There was even a large group of soldiers protecting them. They flew majestically within Mountain Wu City. The trip to the prefecture capital will be up to you all, Patrol Master Guan said with a smile as he flew. With His Highness 7th Meiyu and Dongbu around, our Mountain Wu star field will definitely shine brightly this time, the black-robed old man, General Tu, said with a smile. The world deities who had followed along were also chatting idly. Behind them, Dongbu Shuang and the rest were relatively quiet. They did not dare to boast about themselves. Humph, the red-haired man, who was emitting a baleful aura and wearing a half-mask, heard Patrol Master Guan, General Tu, and the other world deities praise Dongbui Shuang and His Highness 7th Meiyu. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. He glanced at the aloof, white-robed handsome youth in front of him, then at Dongbui Shuang, who was happily laughing together with his wife, Jing Qiu. The baleful aura on his body grew even stronger. Who? Very soon, the group entered the spatial teleportation array outside Mountain Wu City. The deity world soldiers in charge of the array immediately rushed to and fro in a respectful manner. After all, this was the Starfield Patrol Master, the general of the garrison, and a group of world deities. They could not afford to offend any one of them. The spatial teleportation channel was instantly activated. Their bodies felt as if they had sunk into a swamp, and the space around them had solidified. Everything became clear. What appeared before their eyes was an incomparably majestic city that was many times more majestic than Mountain Wu City. It was incomparably huge, and it was even surrounded by mountains. Amidst the mountains, there were even many stars. There were dozens of stars in the sky above the city alone. From this, one could see how huge this city was. A prefecture capital. Everyone, including the patrol master, looked at it from afar and involuntarily retracted their auras. The Calm Sea prefecture capital was the core of a prefecture. The entire territory of the Bloodshed God Palace was divided into 19 prefectures. The number of experts within the Calm Sea prefecture was as many as the clouds in the sky. Compared to them, these people did not count for much. Star. Chapter 438. The towering walls of the Calm Sea prefecture city were covered with countless arrays. These arrays could faintly draw upon the power of the world to permeate a radius of millions and millions of kilometers. Everyone, including the strongest Stage 2 world deity in the team, Madame Sang, could feel the pressure. The Calm Sea prefecture city has been reinforced by the previous prefecture master, and its power has long since reached an extraordinary level. The current prefecture master can activate the arrays with a single thought, and even Stage 4 world deities will be suppressed, losing their lives if they aren't careful. As for us weak world deities, no matter how many come, we will all die. Patrol Master Guan continued, moreover, there are many people with powerful backgrounds here. It is best for everyone to maintain a low profile within the prefecture city. Yes. Yes, Patrol Master. The deities who had passed through the preliminaries hurriedly replied. His Highness 7th Meiyu and Dongbui Shuang, on the other hand, were relatively calm. The two of them were well aware of the underlying rules. Patrol Master Guan continued, however, you can rest assured. You are all participants of the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast, and His Majesty has forbidden anyone from disrupting it. Thus, there shouldn't be anyone who would dare act arrogantly against you. Alright, let's enter the city. On the main gate of the prefecture city, there were two gigantic characters formed from deity imprints, Calm Sea. These two characters emitted boundless might, and the two complex characters were actually incomparably profound arrays. Upon entering the Calm Sea prefecture city, a legion of soldiers came to receive them. The Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast was the greatest event of the deity world, and no mishaps could be tolerated. Calm Sea prefecture city, Bloodshed region. Within a chain of caves. This cave will temporarily belong to your Mountain Wu Star Field, the Legion soldier in charge of leading the way said. The soldier in charge of leading the way said, we're surrounded by people from other star domains, and will send news of the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast to the Patrol Master. The Patrol Master will then inform the 16 deity experts under his command. Understood. Patrol Master Guan nodded. Patrol Master, please arrange for everyone to rest. We will immediately relay any news or orders from the Prefecture Master. Everything was arranged appropriately. Dongbui Shuang brought Jing Qiu, Yun Hai, and the rest to their caves. Calm Sea Prefecture capital. A dispirited man with a blade on his back looked at the majestic city in front of him. His eyes were filled with anticipation. I heard that many deities of the Xia people have come. It's been too long. It's been too long since we've gathered together. This dispirited man was Emperor Crimson Flame. I even sold my weapons to gather 20 divine crystals. That's how I managed to make it here. I heard from Yunhai that Dongbua has already arrived at the Calm Sea Prefecture city. A gray-robed youth let out a long sigh of relief. Cultivating in the god world is really too difficult. Following Dongbo will make my days much easier. Calm Sea Prefecture capital. Amidst a group of soldiers, the amiable old man, the Purple Thunder Emperor, was also looking at the distant Calm Sea Prefecture capital with a smile on his face. Ha ha ha, they're here. We, the deities of the Xia people, have come to participate in the myriad flower feast. A forthright man looked at the distant Calm Sea Prefecture city and revealed a hearty smile. In the Calm Sea Prefecture city, Dongbua Shuiying's temporary abode was filled with more and more people. All of them were the ancestral deities of the Xia people. Brother Purple Thunder, you've only sent a single deity avatar. The group of deities of the Xia people was incomparably happy as they once again drank to their heart's content. In the past, they had always communicated with each other through communication treasures or spatial imprints they had left in the Xia people. They had never met each other on such a large scale before. After all, they were scattered all over the place, and the teleportation fee for them to gather together was ridiculously high. There's no helping it. After joining the army, I can't just casually leave. But since I'm here to spectate, there's no difference between my true body and my deity avatar. The Purple Thunder Emperor laughed. He then turned to Crimson Flame. Come, Crimson Flame. Come, let's have a drink. Dragon Mountain, Dragon Mountain. Quick, Dongbua was born in your Dragon Mountain Empire. Come, come, the two of you should have a drink as well. Everyone was gathered here. Since they were all from the Xia people, they were naturally as close as brothers. Dongbua Shuiying turned to the slightly dispirited Emperor Crimson Flame. He raised his cup and said, Brother Crimson Flame, let me toast you. This title of yours is too tyrannical. You actually share the same name as a powerful existence. Ah. Emperor Crimson Flame was startled. Is that so? That's right. Dongbua Shuiying grinned. Crimson Flame. The forefather who had saved his wife was none other than Chihua Laozu. But it was normal for experts in the deity world to share the same name. For instance, His Majesty Blood Blade would not be able to sense it even if someone were to shout it. After all, there were simply too many people who had mentioned it. For instance, countless people had mentioned the Bloodshed God Palace or the Bloodshed Tavern. Thus, the word bloodshed was too common. The same logic applied. The Temporal Island Lord would not be able to sense it even if others said the word spacetime. That was because the word spacetime was too common. Sensing it was usually a direct form of address. For instance, Temporal Island Lord. Blood Blade. Only such a form of address would be able to sense it. It seems my name isn't bad. Emperor Crimson Flame grinned. He had been too lonely, and now that he was with a group of Xia people, he felt a sense of joy and satisfaction that he hadn't felt in a long time. Oh, right. Dongbua. The Dragon Mountain Emperor looked at Dongbua Shuiying and laughed. Are you confident in your chances of winning the prefecture capital battle of the Myriad Flower Feast? That's right. Dongbua, are you confident? We're all looking forward to your trip to the Bloodshed God Palace. When the time comes, we can take the opportunity to follow you there. The Bloodshed God Palace, hee, I've heard that the teleportation fee is 100 deity crystals. Normally, we wouldn't be willing to go there. All of them looked at Dongbua Shuiying. Dongbua Shuiying continued, there are so many starfields in the Calm Sea Prefecture, and I've heard that there are a total of 32,000 deities who have passed the starfield selections. The prefectural capital battle was to select the strongest 100 out of the 32,000 participants. The elimination rate is simply too high, so I can only say that I'm confident, but I can't say that I'm absolutely certain. 32,000 deities, and the top 100? The Purple Thunder Emperor and the others were all startled. Many of them are disciples of powerful world deities, and some are even disciples of powerful existences. Some of them have cultivated for millions of years, Yunhai said from the side. It was too difficult. Dongbua Shuang and the deities of the Xia people were having a great time together. The other deities who had passed the selections from the various starfields were also preparing for the bloody elimination. The prefecture capital battle was the cruelest. The death rate had always been extremely high. In the Calm Sea prefecture capital, within a side palace of the prefecture master's palace, 5 existences were currently seated. Ha ha ha, a hearty laughter rang out, causing the surrounding void to tremble. A man whose entire body seemed to be made of black metal walked into the palace. He was a member of the metal race, and his name was infamous throughout the entire Calm Sea prefecture. The name, King Rong Hai, was enough to strike fear into the hearts of many world deities. Upon entering the palace, the black metal man bowed slightly toward the old man seated high above. Greetings, Prefecture Master. Rong Hai, take a seat, the old man instructed. This old man seemed to be smiling amiably, but he was, without a doubt, the strongest expert in the entire Calm Sea prefecture. He was also the prefecture master of the Calm Sea prefecture. Yes. The black metal man swept his gaze across the area, noticing the 4 existences seated to the side. Each of them had a majestic aura that was not any weaker than his own. With a single glance, he noticed the white-robed plump man who was currently eating with his head lowered. His eyes lit up, and he hurriedly said, Brother White Sand, weren't you asleep? Why have you come to watch the battle? As he spoke, the black metal man chose a seat to the right of the White Sand City Lord. I was asleep, but I was woken up by a little fellow. The White Sand City Lord laughed. Who would be so daring? Did you eat him in a fit of anger? The black metal man asked in astonishment. I do like to eat, but I don't eat humans. The White Sand City Lord glared at him. It's a little fellow called Dongbua. A yellow-robed woman sitting opposite him laughed. He even participated in the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast. Oh. The black metal man was surprised. He's called Dongbua, and he'll be participating in the Starfield selections in the Mountain Wu Starfield. The White Sand City Lord stroked his beard and proudly said, This little brother is quite formidable. I'm very optimistic about him, and I feel that he'll definitely pass the prefecture capital battle. Star. Chapter 439. The yellow-robed woman immediately laughed. Big Brother White Sand, how many deities from the entire Calm Sea prefecture have come to participate? There are also many who have rushed over from outside. Out of 32,000 deities, only 100 will be chosen. You really think too highly of that little brother Dongbua of yours. The yellow-robed woman laughed. Her voice was pleasing to the ears, and her delicate body trembled. Her loose yellow robes made it possible to see the curves of her body. However, she was a frightening stage 3 world deity known as the venomous Ying world deity. She specialized in poison. The sorcerer god that Dongbua Shuang had seen before paled in comparison to this venomous Ying world deity. You'll know when the time comes. The White Sand City Lord was too lazy to say anything else and continued eating. The others chatted as they ate. Everyone present was an intimidating existence, and it was rare for them to meet each other. Not long after, the Calm Sea prefecture master suddenly stood up and looked outside with a beaming smile. His actions startled the other 5, and they hurriedly stood up as well. Ha ha ha, Brother Long, a vigorous voice came from outside. An old man with snow-white hair and a snow-white beard walked in. He wore a thick black robe and stepped into the hall. The calm sea prefecture master walked down and took the initiative to welcome him. Brother Mo Shui, it's been a long time since we last met. I didn't think that you would come to the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast. Come, follow me to a seat. Then I won't stand on ceremony. The white-bearded old man and the calm sea prefecture master walked to a higher place and sat down. The moment the five heard the two words Mo Shui, they immediately guessed the identity of the newcomer. All of them hurriedly bowed. Greetings, Monarch Mo Shui. All of them were rather humble and polite. Monarch Mo Shui's fame was simply too great. He was an existence who had occupied a territory in the deity world and established an empire. He was a true overlord of the deity world, and he had even fought against powerful existences without losing. However, he was a stage 4 world deity who had lived for a very, very long time. Many world deities guessed that Monarch Mo Shui had lived for too long, and that he might not be able to protect his true deity heart and die at any time. Regardless, as long as he was alive, it was enough to intimidate everyone. Brother Mo Shui, let me introduce you. The calm sea prefecture master pointed at the second seat on the left. As for the first seat, it was empty. This is Mo Yun, a junior of my calm sea prefecture. However, his cultivation speed is extremely fast, and he became a stage 3 world deity in just 10 million years. Mo Yun pays his respects to Monarch Mo Shui. The black-robed man bowed. It's good to be young. Monarch Mo Shui smiled and nodded from above. This is Marshal Qin. The calm sea prefecture master pointed at the silver-white armored woman beside the black-robed man. Marshal Qin is in charge of the North Wind Legion within my calm sea prefecture. The silver-armored woman, Marshal Qin, also bowed. This is the venomous Ying world deity, someone who specializes in using poison. The calm sea prefecture master pointed at the yellow-robed woman, who softly said, Venomous Ying greets the monarch. Ha ha ha, I know you. Brother Pu Zong was poisoned by you and suffered a huge loss. Monarch Mo Shui laughed. Monarch Pu Zong did not bicker with me, the yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity said. If he did, I would not have been able to live until now. This is the White Sand City Lord. There's no need for me to explain in detail. The calm sea prefecture master laughed. I know him. He's that rat who steals food. Monarch Mo Shui laughed. The plump White Sand City Lord added, I've regretted it for so many years. I've always wanted to return to His Majesty's side. If someone else dared to call him a rat who steals food, the White Sand City Lord would have long since killed them. But in front of the calm sea prefecture master and Monarch Mo Shui, he was still very obedient. These two were old fellows with long reputations. There were differences between stage 4 world deities. Generally speaking, the older one was, the stronger they would become. Unfortunately, after reaching a certain point, they would either reincarnate or die from the collapse of their original heart. This is Rong Hai. He's somewhat foolish, the calm sea prefecture master said. He's from the metal race. The metal race is quite straightforward, Monarch Mo Shui added. King Rong Hai grinned. Right, straightforward. I'm very straightforward. Brother Mo Shui, why have you come to my place? The Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast can be seen in any prefecture city. The calm sea prefecture master asked. The two of them sat side by side on high ground, and Monarch Mo Shui laughed. I've come because my 7th daughter is also participating in the Myriad Flower Feast. She's in your calm sea prefecture right now. 7th daughter. You have another daughter. The calm sea prefecture master was startled. Yes. Monarch Mo Shui nodded. You're quite amazing, old man. You're already so old. You've given birth to another daughter. The calm sea prefecture master sighed in amazement. Everyone says that it's extremely difficult for stage 4 world deities to have children, but you've had one after another. You should have 7 daughters by now, right? Right, how's her comprehension ability? Monarch Mo Shui was an overlord who had lived for a very long time. Of his 6 daughters, the eldest had extremely high talent, becoming a stage 3 world deity. The other 5 were somewhat weaker, and Monarch Mo Shui had spared no expense to barely allow them to step into the world deity realm. They were all stage 1 world deities. My youngest daughter is very opinionated. Even my words are useless against her, Monarch Mo Shui praised. Monarch Mo Shui praised, but her perception is indeed not bad, not much different from my eldest daughter. Oh. Not bad. It seems that this youngest daughter of yours will be able to become a disciple of a powerful existence. Right, what's your youngest daughter's name? She disguised herself as a man and gave herself a name, 7th Meiyu. Monarch Mo Shui shook his head. Disguised herself as a man. Ha ha ha, interesting. The Calm Sea Prefecture master laughed. While the 2 of them were chatting, the 5 people below rarely interjected. However, they had all memorized the name 7th Meiyu. If I recall correctly, among the deities of the Mountain Wu Star Field who passed the Starfield selections, other than little brother Dongbo, there's another person called 7th Meiyu? The White Sand City Lord thought to himself. More than 2 hours passed. Who? A white-robed figure walked into the hall. The emissary has arrived. The Calm Sea Prefecture master looked down. Monarch Mo Shui, the White Sand City Lord, the Mo Yun City Lord, Marshal Qin, the venomous Ying world deity, and King Rong Hai were all looking at this white-robed figure. This was the emissary sent by the Bloodshed God Palace. Greetings, Prefecture Master. The white-robed figure respectfully bowed before raising his head. This humble one has come under the orders of His Majesty to preside over the prefecture capital battles of the Myriad Flower Feast. Prefecture Master, you may oversee the entire process. MN the Calm Sea Prefecture Master nodded. Emissary, please take a seat. Since you're here, I presume that the rules for the 3 selections have already been decided? The emissary walked to the first seat on the left and sat down before respectfully replying, it has already been decided. Then you can begin the arrangements. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master nodded. Approximately 32,000 deity experts had passed through the selections from various starfields within the Calm Sea Prefecture. In reality, many of them were not from the Calm Sea Prefecture. Some had come from the material world, while others had come from the temporal island or the Myriad God Palace. There were even some who had come from some of the more desolate empires. All of them were here to participate in the biggest event of the deity world. These experts were all waiting for the Calm Sea Prefecture's orders to begin the prefecture capital battles. Dongbua, a legion soldier shouted from the entrance of the cave. Very soon, the door opened. Dongbua Shuang, along with Jing Qiu and a group of Xia people, came to welcome him. Dongbua Shuang immediately recognized this legion soldier as one of the soldiers led by Patrol Master Guan. The Patrol Master ordered me to deliver this to you. It contains the time and rules for the prefecture capital battles, as well as some simple arrangements. The Legion soldier handed over a golden scroll and said, the Patrol Master also said that you shouldn't run around for the next few days. The prefecture capital battles will begin in 3 days. I understand. Dongbua Shuang took the golden scroll, and the Legion soldier immediately left. Quick, take a look. The Purple Thunder Emperor, Yun Hai, and the others were all watching from the side. Dongbua Shuang smiled as he unfurled the scroll. The process of the prefecture capital battles had always been the same, though there were some differences in the details. Ranking battle, arena battle, and survival battle. Dongbua Shuang nodded. The prefecture capital battles were split into 3 rounds. Ranking battle. Approximately 32,000 deity experts would participate in the ranking battle. Based on their results, the top 1,000 would be chosen. The rest would be eliminated. Arena battle. Of the 1,000 experts, 250 would be chosen. In the survival battle, the last 100 would be decided from the last 250. These 100 would represent the Calm Sea Prefecture in the Bloodshed God Palace, where they would participate in the final Bloodshed God Palace battle in front of the strongest existence in the deity world, His Majesty the Bloodshed God Palace, as well as other powerful existences. I've only cultivated for about 2,000 years. As long as I can enter the Bloodshed God Palace and let the powerful existences see me, I'll be able to become their disciple, Dongbu Shuang thought. Thus, I only have one goal, to enter the top 100. If I can participate in the Bloodshed God Palace battle, my participation in the Myriad Flower Feast will be considered a success. The top 100. Dongbu Shuang looked at the 3 rounds of the prefecture capital battles, his eyes flashing with sharpness. Star. Chapter 440. Within the courtyard, the Xia people were seated in groups of 2 or 3, eating, drinking, and chatting. The prefectural capital battles have a total of 3 rounds. The first round has already eliminated over 30,000 deities. The Purple Thunder Emperor shook his head and sighed. Out of 32,000 deities, only the top 1,000 will be selected. Only a dozen or so deities from each starfield can pass the preliminaries. Based on the ratio, it's normal for all the deities in a starfield to be wiped out in the ranking battles. I heard that the celestial starfield I'm from was completely wiped out in the ranking battles of the previous Myriad Flower Feast, Yunhai laughed. But I believe that with Dongbu's strength, he'll definitely be able to enter the top 1,000. Dongbu was able to deal with the fierce shaman warrior in a single move. Entering the top 1,000 shouldn't be a problem, the Dragon Mountain Emperor said. The group of Xia people was discussing among themselves. Dongbu Shuang laughed. Everyone, stop praising me. You're all more confident than I am. I also believe that Snow Eagle can do it, Jing Qiu, who was sitting beside him, said. It's a pity that the ranking battles aren't open to the public. We won't be able to see it at all. Right. It's actually not open to the public. What a pity. The Xia people all shook their heads and sighed. The prefectural capital battles were divided into 3 rounds. The first round was not open to the public. The arena battles and the survival battles were open to the public. After the ranking battles, the Calm Sea Prefecture would publicly announce the top 1,000 deities. Those on the list would then proceed to the next round. Those not on the list? That would be the end of it. Of course, many deities fought too hard and died in the ranking battles. The deities all had very long lifespans. 3 short days passed in the blink of an eye. Dongbu, the patrol master has invited you over. The prefectural capital battles are about to begin, a soldier from the army came to inform him. Lead the way. Dongbu Shuang left the room. Jing Qiu and the group of Xia people followed suit. Very quickly, they arrived at the patrol master's residence. A large group of people had already gathered there, and the place was bustling with activity. Because they were participating in the prefecture capital battle, many of these god-rank experts had brought along a group of friends. 16 deities, follow me. The rest of you, wait here, Patrol Master Guan said loudly. The ranking battles are not open to the public. None of you will be able to see them, and neither will I. Once the ranking battle is over and the rankings are made public, everything will naturally be known. Yes. Second brother, you have to be careful. If you can't take it, just give up. Don't lose your life. Lord Commander, we're counting on you. There were sounds everywhere. Dongbu Shuang also bade farewell to Jing Qiu, Yunhai, Violet Thunder, and the rest. After which, 7th Meiyu, Dongbu Shuang, and the rest of the 16 deity realm experts followed Patrol Master Guan and set off. Who? Groups of people descended from the sky like streams of light. After Dongbu Shuaying's group landed, they surveyed their surroundings. Almost all of them were God realm experts. Of course, there were also the patrol lords. The manor head is up ahead, Patrol Master Guan suddenly said. Dongbo Shuang and the rest hurriedly raised their heads to look. There were 8 figures in the distance, and the one sitting at the center of the group was an amiable old man. Beside him was a white-bearded old man wearing a thick robe. Below the two of them were 6 figures, each of them emanating a vast and extraordinary aura. Dongbo Shuang recognized the person with a single glance. The White Sand City Lord. The chubby White Sand City Lord swept his gaze across the group of people below, and his gaze landed on Dongbo Shuang. He revealed a smile, and at the same time, a voice was transmitted directly into Dongbo Shuang's ears. Dongbo, I've already spoken to the manor head and the others. I said that you would definitely be able to enter the top 100 and participate in the final Bloodshed God Palace battle. Don't disappoint me. Dongbo Shuang felt helpless. This White Sand City Lord seemed to be more confident than him. At this moment, the white-bearded old man's gaze also swept over, landing on this region. The group of deity realm experts from the Mountain Wu Star Field, including Patrol Master Guan, felt their hearts tighten. What's going on? Why is he looking over here? Dongbo Shuang and the others were puzzled. Only 7th Mayu turned to look elsewhere. The white-bearded old man smiled and continued chatting with the Calm Sea Prefecture Lord. Your Highness, 7th Mayu. Patrol Master Guan smiled and asked, do you know that senior? I don't, the white-robed handsome youth, 7th Mayu, coldly replied. Patrol Master Guan was startled, but he could only smile helplessly. Ordinary deities would not dare to speak to him in such a cold manner, but since this person had a stage 2 world deity as his subordinate, he was clearly not someone he could afford to provoke. This old man. Dongbo Shuang looked into the distance and began to ponder rapidly. Many images and information appeared in his mind. He was the master of Crimson Rock Mountain, so he knew quite a bit about the major figures of the deity world. For him to be able to sit shoulder to shoulder with the Calm Sea Prefecture Lord, he must be at least a stage 4 world deity. There are only so many stage 4 world deities in the deity world. From his appearance, is he Monarch Mo Shui? Good fellow. Dongbo Shuang muttered to himself. Monarch Mo Shui is one of the strongest stage 4 world deities, and he has lived for a very long time. His strength is probably comparable to my master, Sacred Master Crimson Dust. On the high platform, the emissary stood up and bowed to the Calm Sea Prefecture Lord. Prefecture Lord, since all the starfields have arrived, shall I begin? Go ahead. The Calm Sea Prefecture Lord nodded. The emissary immediately walked to the front of the high platform and looked down at the numerous figures in the distance. In a clear voice, he said, by His Majesty's orders, I will be the one to preside over the prefecture capital battle, with the Calm Sea Prefecture Lord overseeing it. His voice was vast and mighty, reverberating everywhere. Dongbo Shuang and the others all raised their heads and listened attentively. The previous Starfield selections were merely a threshold to select deity experts who could be considered strong, the emissary said. The prefecture capital battle is the true bloodbath. It will select the 100 most outstanding deity experts, who will then head to the Bloodshed God Palace. The final competition will be held in front of His Majesty and all the other powerful existences. The prefecture capital battle is divided into 3 rounds, and today will be the first round, the ranking battles. The emissary waved his hand as he spoke. A scroll appeared in his hand, and as he threw it, it rapidly grew in size. This scroll was over 100 million kilometers long, and it floated high in the sky like a heavenly curtain. Following that, the huge scroll slowly unfurled. Within the scroll, one could vaguely see a world of its own, with mountains, rivers, and rivers. Every time, I will send 1,000 deity experts in. The emissary's voice was vast and mighty, reverberating in everyone's ears. Batch by batch, when 31,865 deity experts have finished their battles, the ranking battles will come to an end. A detailed ranking will be determined based on the number of enemies you have killed, and the top 1,000 will be announced. As for the next 1,000, all of you will be eliminated. As for the rules, you should all be aware of them. The use of world deity treasures, blood-refined deity weapons, and other such items are prohibited, as well as some special treasures. Once discovered, you will be immediately executed, the emissary coldly instructed. If you find yourself unable to resist, just shout out that you admit defeat, and I will teleport you out. The emissary coldly explained the rules. As an emissary of His Majesty Blood Blade, he was not afraid of anyone. Even powerful existences were not allowed to cause trouble. Daring to disrupt the Bloodshed God Palace's myriad flower feast was tantamount to provoking His Majesty. The prefecture capital battle has begun. The Bloodshed God Palace's emissary said coldly. The first batch will enter first. Hua. As he spoke, an invisible energy enveloped the area below him. As a Stage 3 world deity, he easily grabbed 1,000 deity experts. In an instant, 1,000 figures were involuntarily dragged into the huge scroll in the sky. Upon touching the scroll, they were all sucked into it. Dongbo Shuang and the other 30,000 deity experts all raised their heads to look at the huge scroll in the sky. Chapter 441. A few moments later, a blood-soaked figure was expelled from the giant scroll, falling from the sky. The deity expert regained his consciousness in midair, his face full of fear. He immediately realized that everyone below was looking at him, so he awkwardly descended to his original location. After all, he had been defeated too quickly, and it was too embarrassing. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The scroll was hundreds of millions of kilometers long, and as time passed, more and more heavily injured experts were expelled out of the scroll. More and more experts were expelled out of the scroll, and some even revealed their true forms. For example, there were experts from the beast race, whose bodies were tens of thousands of kilometers long. There were also some rare creatures from the outsider race that revealed their true forms. After all, some techniques were more powerful when used in their true forms. Blood of various colors scattered in midair. Red blood, purple blood, green blood, some of the expelled bodies had been torn apart before they could reform. As a deity, as long as their true deity heart was not destroyed, they could live. How was it? How was it inside? What's the situation inside the scroll world? Many deity experts surrounded the expelled experts and asked. The expelled expert's bloodstains had already disappeared, but his face was still pale. He had yet to calm down. He frowned as he looked left and right, unwilling to say much. You will know once you enter. Dongbo Shuang also looked around. Those who had survived were unwilling to say much. After all, they were surrounded by competitors. Gradually, the number of expelled experts in the sky decreased. Occasionally, there would only be one. Hua. Another tall, silver-haired youth was expelled from the scroll world. He immediately stopped and frowned. The first batch is over. The Bloodshed God Palace emissary coldly said from the distant platform. His voice reverberated throughout the world. The silver-haired youth, who was the last to be expelled, revealed a smile. He was clearly the last one to come out. Let me remind you once more. The ranking battle is based on your achievements in killing enemies. It is not based on how long you stay in the scroll world. The longer you stay, does not help your ranking. For example, the last person to come out of the first batch would be ranked below 200th, the Bloodshed God Palace emissary said coldly. Next batch. The silver-haired youth was stunned, and his face turned red. He was furious, but he did not dare to vent his anger on the Bloodshed God Palace emissary. He immediately descended and remained silent. The Bloodshed God Palace's emissary's majestic power once again enveloped the 1,000 deity experts. All of them involuntarily soared into the sky like pebbles falling into a lake, disappearing into the giant scroll in the sky. In the first batch of 1,000, only 395 survived. Dongbua Shuang had been observing and could easily calculate the numbers. What about the remaining 605 God-grade experts? Did they all die inside? This is only the first round of the prefecture capital battle. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. The mortality rate was too high. Ah! A shrill scream reverberated in the sky. Fresh blood splattered in the air as a broken body was expelled. Only then did it begin to condense in midair. It condensed into a small, thin, gray-robed youth. He looked around in a somewhat sorry state and hastily flew back to his position. The second batch of people that entered were also being expelled. One after another, the heavily injured figures were repelled. Boom! An enormous two-headed monster appeared in mid-air. Then, it rapidly condensed into a human form and descended. The majority of those expelled were heavily injured. Clearly, none of them would easily give up until the very last moment. Being able to pass through the Starfield selections, they all had their own pride. Batch after batch, in the blink of an eye, 10 batches had already entered. The 16 deity experts of the Mountain Wu Star Field had yet to be chosen. The 10th batch has ended. As of now, there are already 10,000 deity experts. The Bloodshed God Palace emissary swept his gaze across the crowd with a cold gaze. You overestimate yourselves. You overestimate yourselves too much. You've already sensed the danger and are starting to get injured, yet you still want to persevere and kill more enemies. However, the enemy's strength might suddenly surpass your limits, so much so that you won't even have the chance to admit defeat before dying. Alright, next batch. Hua. The 11th batch was enveloped, and all of them were pulled into the sky. Dongbua Shuang immediately discovered that there were people from his Mountain Wu Star Field being pulled in this time. However, only 7 people from his Mountain Wu Star Field had been pulled in, and one of them was the red-haired man with the extremely baleful aura. Gradually, they were eliminated one by one. The red-haired man was also expelled. His injuries were extremely severe, but he quickly recovered in midair. After landing, he coldly raised his head and looked at the giant scroll in the sky, as well as the other experts who had been expelled. Finally, it was the 12th batch's turn. The emissary on the high platform looked down, his gaze sweeping across the Mountain Wu Star Field. As the host of the prefecture capital battle, he naturally had access to a large amount of information. He knew which of the deity experts from the Calm Sea prefecture were dazzling enough, and which of them had extremely powerful backgrounds. He would also separate them into batches so that he could observe them more closely. Phew! An invisible force enveloped him. Me? Dongbua Shuang immediately felt himself being enveloped by that invisible force. In the blink of an eye, he shot into the sky, flying towards the giant scroll. As he raised his head, he saw that the giant scroll was getting closer and closer to him. Pooh! Just like the other deity experts, he slammed into the scroll. Before he slammed into it, Dongbua Shuang discovered that the person flying towards the scroll with him was Her Highness 7th Meiyu, whom he was rather familiar with. Brother Mo Shui, your daughter has entered. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master also looked at the scroll. His gaze easily pierced through the barrier of the scroll world, looking into its interior. He saw the situation of the 1,000 deity experts, and naturally, he discovered 7th Meiyu as well. Brother Long, why don't you take a look at my little daughter? Monarch Mo Shui stroked his snow-white beard in a rather pleased manner. His gaze similarly pierced through the barrier of the scroll world, looking into its interior and observing everything. This batch is interesting. The yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity laughed. There's Monarch Mo Shui's daughter, Zhang Xiao, the inner disciple of the primal ivory powerhouse, and that little fellow named Dongbua that Brother White Sand thinks highly of. Let's all make a bet on who do you think will be the strongest in this batch. Dongbua. The White Sand City Lord stroked his beard as he swept his gaze across the surroundings. Your Highness 7th Meiyu, the silver-armored Martial Qin casually said as she raised her cup of wine. Then I'll bet on the one called Zhang Xiao. He was able to rise from a nobody to become an inner disciple of a powerful existence. His comprehension ability isn't low at all, the handsome Mo Yun added. The yellow-robed woman hurriedly shouted, Big brother Ronghai, what about you? King Ronghai laughed. Following brother Mo Yun is definitely the right choice. I'll also choose Zhang Shao. Little sister Venomous Ying, you haven't made your choice yet. As a woman, I'll naturally choose Her Highness 7th Meiyu, the yellow-robed woman said. I'll also make a bet. I'll choose my own daughter. Monarch Mo Shui laughed from above. If I lose, each of you will receive a flask of bamboo flame snow nectar. Since that's the case, I'll also bet on Zhang Shao. I know that little fellow's strength, and he's not bad, the Calm Sea Prefecture Master said. If I lose, each of the winners will receive a Calm Sea Spirit Pearl. Bamboo Flame Snow Nectar, it's unique to the Mo Shui Empire. Even though this junior is the host, I can't help myself. I'll also bet on Zhang Shao. The emissary laughed. At that moment, the yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity said, a total of 8 people. 4 will bet on Zhang Shao, and 3 on Her Highness 7th Meiyu. Aya. Big brother White Sand, you're the only one who'll choose your brother Dongbua. The White Sand City Lord glared. The prefecture master and the monarch have both taken out their bets. What about the rest of you? Hurry up and take them out. Even though he was shouting arrogantly, the White Sand City Lord was inwardly anxious. Brother Dongbua, you must not let me down. He had long since said that he favored Dongbua. Thus, even if he were to really bet, he would still stand on Dongbua Shui Ying's side for the sake of his reputation. But deep in his heart, even though the White Sand City Lord believed that Dongbua Shui Ying had a chance of entering the top 100, he was not confident that he could compete with Zhang Shao and 7th Meiyu. After all, Zhang Shao had a powerful existence guiding him in his cultivation, while 7th Meiyu had her father guiding her. Monarch Mo Shui might be weaker in terms of realm compared to powerful existences, but he would definitely do his best to help his daughter. But even if he was not confident, he still had to hold on for the sake of his reputation. The White Sand City Lord looked up at the sky. The emissary from the Bloodshed God Palace did not obstruct the spectators from watching the battle from the high platform. The White Sand City Lord's gaze pierced through the scroll world and landed on one of the more desolate areas. Shui Ying was currently standing on a beach. Chapter 442. Island, Ocean. Dongbua Shui Ying landed on the beach of the island. The sand was as white as snow, without any dirt on it. The heaven and earth light within the scroll world was slightly cold. Shui Ying looked around him, and with a glance, he saw an hourglass floating in midair. Within the hourglass, there was a glowing time sand. The time sand had already begun flowing. Who? Black energy gathered on the island, forming 10 black-robed men. They were dressed in the same robes, and even their appearances were the same. However, the weapons they carried were different. Some were wielding dual swords, some were spears, some were short spears, some were whips, and some were chains. The moment they appeared, they charged towards Nye Tian. Some of them flew at high speed, some instantly passed through the mirage realm, some hid in the shadow space, and some transformed into flames. The way they charged towards Nye Tian was different, and their fighting styles were also different. Come! With a thought, a starry blue-robed Dongbua Shui Ying appeared beside Dongbua Shui Ying. The 2 Dongbua Shui Ying each held a spear. One was a black spear, and the other was a fiery red spear. The one holding the fiery red spear was the Mirage True Body. The more I kill, the higher my ranking will be. Let's kill. The 2 Dongbua Shui Ying moved at the same time. Pooh! The spear pierced through the chest of one of the black-robed men in front of Nye Tian. The black-robed man dissipated. The hourglass in the air immediately turned upside down and started flowing again. Xiao xiao xiao. The Mirage true body shot out 3 consecutive spears, each imbued with the profundity of extreme piercing. They instantly pierced through the throats of 3 black-robed men attacking from different directions. The hourglass in the air immediately turned upside down and started flowing again. They were too lazy to use their secret techniques. With the speed and strength of the 3rd-level time immemorial body, Nie Tian could kill them easily even if he used the profundity of extreme piercing and star force. Every time he killed one, a new black-robed man would appear on the island. The sand of time in the hourglass would also turn upside down and start flowing again. When the enemy was not killed for a long time, the sand of time would be expelled. However, most of them surrendered voluntarily or died in battle. Very few of them were expelled because of the sand of time. Their strength increased so quickly. Dongbua Shuang frowned. He killed them very quickly. His main body and his Mirage true body fought at the same time, and their strength and profundity of laws were increasing as well. However, the black-robed man who was born later on became even stronger. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, the black-robed man's strength had risen to the threshold of world deity. This was not just in terms of strength and speed, but also in the laws of profound mysteries. Furthermore, they would surround and attack him at the same time, forcing Shuang to increase his speed in dealing with them one by one. He did not dare to let them surround him. Fortunately, they were scattered all over the island. As long as Shuang continued to move and kill his enemies, they would not be able to surround him. I have to use my secret technique. When Dongbua Shuang faced an enemy who had reached the threshold of a world deity, the spear technique he displayed changed. His main move was the chaotic suppression, which was more inclined towards strength. Peng peng peng. The long spear swept out in succession, and wherever the long spear passed, the surroundings fell into darkness and began to collapse. The first spear strike caused the shield in the black-robed man's hand to scatter. The second spear strike struck his chest, causing it to cave in. The third spear strike directly shattered the black-robed man's body. Violence. Rude and unreasonable. Dongbua Shuang appeared to be very reserved, but the techniques he was using now were more ferocious. However, he only managed to kill one of the black-clothed men with 3 consecutive spear strikes. The other black-clothed men had already started to surround him, and a new, stronger black-clothed man was born in the distance. This made Dongbua Shuang feel pressured. Every time he used the chaotic suppression, he would gain new insights. Not ruthless enough. The energy transfer isn't smooth enough. If it's truly smooth, I should be able to completely transmit it into his body without being affected by his weapon. With that, I should be able to kill him in one move. The pressure was increasing, but Dongbua Shuang was extremely excited. This was exactly what he needed. Moreover, the 10 opponents had different styles, and the laws of profound mysteries they displayed were completely different. This kind of pressure was much better than burying his head in cultivation. Hoo. One by one, the heavily injured figures on the huge scroll were repelled and dropped. Dongbua and His Highness 7th Meiyu have yet to come out. The 2 of them are extremely powerful. I wonder how long they can last. Everyone in Mountain Wu Star Field was discussing this matter. TSK. Old brother White Sand, this little brother Dongbua of yours should have learned a world deity secret technique, right? Moreover, his realm is quite high. Every move he makes is so powerful. King Rong Hai looked at the battle taking place in the sky and sighed in admiration. He even has a mirage avatar. TSK, his killing speed is on par with His Highness 7th Meiyu. He's even faster than Zhang Xiao. This Dongbua is still relying on his mirage avatar. His Highness 7th Meiyu is truly fast, the yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity praised. His Highness 7th Meiyu's swordsmanship and movement technique are truly perfect, the Ink Cloud City Lord praised. Ha ha ha. Monarch Emo Shui laughed from above. They could clearly see the battle taking place within the enormous scroll. Her Highness 7th Meiyu was within a forest, surrounded by numerous black-robed men. However, 7th Meiyu had already transformed into an illusion. Misty illusions appeared all around her, and every single one of these illusions was brandishing their swords to kill her enemies. There were even petals floating around her, each of which contained a terrifying might as they wantonly reaped the lives of the black-robed men. Her Highness's sword is sufficiently cold and straightforward. Marshal Qin revealed a smile. Through her sword technique, I can feel her will. Her will and sword have fused as one, allowing her to kill all her enemies. For Her Highness to be able to create such a sword technique and have such an unshakable will, I believe that if this continues, she'll definitely break through the final barrier and become a world deity. It seems like we're going to win, the yellow-robed venomous Ying world deity said. Don't celebrate too early. The emissary beside her chuckled. Zhang Shao hasn't used his full strength yet, but he's starting to do so now. Zhang Shao was using a pair of blades. Previously, he had relied on a world deity's secret technique to use ordinary blade techniques, but now, he was revealing his own blade technique secret technique. Two bewitching blood-colored streams of light flickered time and time again, each flash accompanied by an ear-piercing whistling sound as if a bird was crying out in pain. The black-robed men were continuously being killed amidst the whistling sounds. His killing speed immediately soared, clearly surpassing that of Dongbu Shuaying and 7th Meiyu. Naturally, the number of black-robed men he was killing soared higher and higher. He surpassed them. The Ink Cloud City Lord chuckled. He's already the fastest of them all. Zhang Zhao's blade technique is none other than a blade technique of slaughter. On the beach, Dongbu Shuaying was still fighting to his heart's content. The efficiency of his chaotic suppression was getting lower and lower. After all, it was a technique that focused more on pure strength. The 10 black-robed men specialized in different aspects, and some of them had extremely strong defenses, allowing them to resist Dongbu Shuaying's spear technique. Dongbu Shuaying and his Mirage True Body worked together to fight with all their might. Even so, they still couldn't hold on much longer. Not enough strength? Then I'll just have to increase my strength. The great chaotic true force within Dongbu Shuaying's body began to surge, and the great chaotic true force, which he had cultivated to the pinnacle of the deity realm, was immediately unleashed. The power of his spear abruptly increased. Pang! The black-robed men who could not be killed even after 8 to 10 moves were instantly blasted apart by a single sweep of the spear. They were both at the pinnacle of the deity realm, but the great chaotic true force was clearly stronger than the time-immemorial body. Peng 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 peng. One by one, the black-robed men were blasted apart. No matter how strong they were, the spear would crush them with pure strength. This was also the reason why Dongbu Shuaying did not use the great chaotic true force previously. Only when one's strength was close would it have the effect of tempering oneself. Otherwise, the effect would be too weak. Clearly, as the black-robed men grew stronger, Dongbu Shuaying's strength also grew stronger. Chapter 443. The great chaotic true force combined with the chaotic suppression was naturally very effective. The black-robed men that he had created were constantly being destroyed. Only after he had destroyed 30 of them did he meet an opponent that could exchange a few blows with him. This is more interesting. Shuang was fighting to his heart's content with a black-robed man who had turned into a lightning. This lightning black-robed man wielded 2 spears, and his movement speed far surpassed Shuaying's. Every move he sent enveloped Shuaying. His attacks were extremely fast. Although Dongbu Shuaying's speed was not as fast as the black-robed man, he could still sweep and whip his spear. With each sweep of the spear, a large group of black-robed men would be struck. With each whip, another large group of black-robed men would be struck. This made it very difficult for Dongbu Shuaying to dodge. Furthermore, his spear technique could produce a terrifying gravitational force that could cause the world to collapse. It didn't matter if one was hiding in the Mirage Realm or the Shadow Realm. The chaotic hole was originally one of the final forms of the world. Shui Ying's chaotic suppression secret skill already had a few hints of the color of a chaotic hole. As long as the spear brushed past them, those with weaker bodies would immediately explode. Even those with stronger bodies would be heavily injured. In just 2 or 3 blows, they would die. It's getting harder and harder. His Mirage Realm body fought against a black-robed man with extremely strong defenses. After more than 10 exchanges, he was still unable to kill his opponent. His true body continued to kill the other opponents that he could restrain. The ranking battle isn't too difficult. After all, there are only 10 opponents at any given moment. I can't increase the number of opponents. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself. Furthermore, the strength of these black-robed men will gradually increase. To me, this is a rare opportunity to train. Dongbua Shuang was completely immersed in his spear technique. Almost all of his moves were the chaotic suppression. This was a secret technique that Dongbua Shuang constantly pursued to the extreme. This was a dark, desolate plain. Hua, Zhang Zhao's face was ugly, and there were 2 scars on his face. After becoming a deity, he could easily get rid of the scars, but Zhang Zhao still kept them. Wielding 2 blades, his figure was like a ghost, disappearing and reappearing again and again in this dark wasteland. He could appear anywhere in the surroundings at any time. His 2 blades had even turned into a demonic blood-red blade light. The saber light whistled, ear-piercing and mournful. The black-clothed men were cut down one by one, as if they were harvesting wheat. The speed at which Zhang Zhao killed his enemies was simply too fast, especially after he used his secret skill. This reckless cutting speed was even above that of Dongbua Shuang and 7th Meiyu. His eyes were filled with coldness, and he mercilessly slashed at will, displaying his saber skills to his heart's content. This was a pure killing saber technique. Clang clang. Their weapons clashed, and Zhang Zhao's figure flickered. A strange saber light slashed out, cutting down another black-clothed man. It's starting to get obstructed. Zhang Zhao knew this, but he still showed no mercy. Gradually, the strength of the black-clothed men grew stronger and stronger. At first, there was a man with a strong defense who could fight him. Then, there was a man with a faster speed who could also fight him. As time went on, the black-clothed men became more and more difficult to kill. Pooh! When a sword slashed across Zhang Zhao's body, blood splattered. I concede. Zhang Zhao's cold eyes did not waver in the slightest. He was cold to his enemies, and cold to himself. He had long since set the rule that he would concede the first time he was injured. No matter how light the injury, he had to concede. Who? A wave of energy enveloped Zhang Zhao, and he was immediately transported out of the world of the scroll. He was expelled into the air. He raised his head to look at the enormous scroll in the sky, as well as the deity experts who were occasionally expelled. Clearly, Zhang Zhao had not been able to fight for long in this world. However, he was very confident. His killing speed was simply too fast. In fact, he could kill 10 times faster than an ordinary deity. Whoosh! Zhang Zhao descended to the ground. He was extremely calm, confident in himself. Zhang Zhao has conceded. Everyone on the high platform was paying close attention to the battle. The emissary even laughed. He might have admitted defeat, but his killing speed is truly fast. After using his secret skill, his speed far exceeds that of Dong Bo and His Highness 7th Meiyu. He might have been the first to concede, but his killing speed far exceeds that of Dongbua and 7th Meiyu. That's hard to say. Look at how fast Dongbua is killing, the White Sand City Lord said. They could clearly see Dongbua Shuang unleashing his great chaotic true force and slaughtering his enemies. However, his killing speed had already begun to slow down. His strength is truly powerful. It's a pure world deity grade secret technique. Marshal Qin nodded in praise. His secret technique is quite suitable for unleashing his strength, but he's reached a bottleneck. I'm afraid he won't be able to increase his strength any further. His secret technique is already formidable enough, and it won't be long before it stops. It's indeed starting to slow down, but he'll probably end up a level lower than Zhang Shao. The venomous Ying world deity agreed. His Highness 7th Meiyu is truly formidable. His Highness has yet to reach his limit. Indeed. Marshal Qin agreed. This brat's sword technique isn't just fast, it's exquisite as well. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master smiled as he evaluated. In terms of sword techniques, this brat's speed is above Dongbua and Zhang Shao. However, her sword techniques are even more perfect, allowing her to kill her enemies with a single strike. If she can't kill them with a single strike, she'll use 8 or 10 consecutive strikes. Her sword technique is like a trap, easily trapping the enemy. Furthermore, her sword technique has even formed its own domain. It's truly a perfect secret technique. She even possesses a domain. In my opinion, she's even more formidable than Zhang Shao. I'm getting old, and I've made a mistake this time. I'm going to lose. Ha ha ha. Monarch Mo Shui burst into laughter. This daughter of mine truly pursues perfection. If she can kill her enemies with just a sliver of her strength, she definitely won't use any more. She clearly has quite a few world deity grade secret techniques, yet she's never been in a rush to use them. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master shook his head. Formidable. Truly formidable. Everyone below was gradually discovering how formidable 7th Meiyu was. 7th Meiyu's killing speed wasn't as fast as Dongbua Shui Ying's, nor was it as fast as Zhang Zhao's. However, her sword techniques gave them a sense of perfection. In the deity realm, even stage 3 world deities felt that she was perfect in every aspect. Even when facing a difficult opponent, 7th Meiyu had a way to deal with them. She killed them one by one. If she couldn't deal with them, she would even switch to another world deity grade secret technique. That's right. 7th Meiyu had many world deity grade secret techniques, and from the way they watched the battle, they could guess that she had at least 4 world deity grade secret techniques at her disposal. She was far above Zhang Shao. She was killing and harvesting without stop. 7th Meiyu was incomparably calm. To her, displaying her sword techniques was a form of enjoyment, a form of absolute enjoyment. Gradually, Dongbua Shui Ying's spear techniques were no longer able to suppress her enemies, and her killing had fallen into a predicament. She had surpassed Dongbua Shui Ying, and was even gradually surpassing Zhang Zhao's achievements. You said that her talent and comprehension are comparable to that of your eldest daughter. That is indeed true. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master raised his head to look at the scene within the giant scroll, then turned to smile. Old man, you really know how to give birth, and you even know how to teach your child. How did you teach your youngest daughter? Ha! Monarch Mo Shui laughed. I hope to see her become a stage 3 world deity. At that time, I'll seal my memories and reincarnate, so there'll be nothing to worry about. Mo Shui, how much longer can you hold on for? The Calm Sea Prefecture Master transmitted. Hold on for what? I usually hide in my Eden to control the flow of time, Monarch Mo Shui replied. Old dragon, I really don't dare to reincarnate. After all, I've lived for far too long, and I've been implicated in too many grudges. I'll just have to drag it out until I can't hold on any longer. At that point, I'll have no choice but to seal my memories and reincarnate. Sealing one's memories and reincarnating. It was similarly dangerous. It would be fine if one could become a deity and awaken their memories, but if one were to cultivate step by step from a mortal without even becoming a deity, they would die forever. As a result, there were a few old world deities who chose to seal their memories and reincarnate, never to be heard from again. After all, without the advantage of their memories, they might be born a slave, unable to even come into contact with cultivation techniques. They might even be used as experimental materials by mages to test their souls, causing their souls to scatter. All of these were very possible. I envy you, old dragon. You were born as a mutated beast, so your temperament is weak, making it easier for you to guard your heart, Monarch Mo Shui transmitted. Without stepping out of the river of time and transcending the shackles, there is no such thing as true immortality, the Calm Sea Prefecture Master added. These two old fellows had lived for a long time, so they naturally had a common language. If I die, I won't care about anything else. However, I hope that you can take care of my daughters when you can, Monarch Mo Shui transmitted. If I can help, I'll naturally do my best. Moreover, your daughter should be able to take on a powerful existence as her master. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master nodded. He then raised his head to look at the sky and laughed. Brother Mo Shui, your youngest daughter has also come out. Monarch Mo Shui raised his head and saw Her Highness, 7th Meiyu, who had been expelled. 7th Meiyu was still dressed in white, though there were some bloodstains on her palms. The bloodstains instantly disappeared, and she safely descended. Chapter 444. With our meager strength, there's no hope for us. Still, being able to participate in the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast and witness such a scene is worth it. Two deities were chatting as they looked around them. The Starfield Patrol Guards were all-world deities, and their auras were vast and mighty. Nearly 2,000 world deities. There's also the Calm Sea Prefecture's second-rank legion, the Calm Sea Legion. One of them, a tall and skinny man, looked at the distant high platform. The platform was suffused with pressure, and even King Rong Hai, who was seated at the edge, was enough to make these deity experts tremble from the bottom of their hearts. There was no need to even mention the Calm Sea Prefecture Master and Monarch Mo Shui, who were as ancient as the world itself. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master and Monarch Mo Shui sat there as if they were the beginning and the end of everything. They were the core of the laws of the world. This formless pressure was an instinctive reverence for life. It's truly worth it to be able to witness such a thing. Aside from this moment, we'll probably never get to see an existence like the Calm Sea Prefecture Master in our entire lives. Despite their fear and reverence, many deity experts were secretly watching. Everything they experienced this time would become a topic of conversation for many years to come. After all, only 100 deities were qualified to represent the Calm Sea Prefecture at the Bloodshed God Palace. Who? 7th Meiyu descended to the side of the mountain with Starfield Patrol Guards. She looked around. Brother Dongbua isn't done yet? Dongbua Shuang was indeed not done yet. He was in a sorry state, and his chaotic suppression was no longer of much use. With the help of his mirage body, he was barely holding on, constantly using chaotic suppression. He was doing his best to maintain this state for as long as possible, but the black-robed men were gradually encircling him. Good, very good. The chaotic suppression truly has too many flaws. Under the extreme pressure, Shuang felt an even greater desire for this move of his. His heart was filled with joy. One of his main goals in participating in the Myriad Flower Feast was to temper himself through combat so that he could grasp hold of the Grade 1 deity heart, the chaotic deity heart, as soon as possible. That way, he would be able to become a Stage 2 world deity. I can't hold on any longer. These black-robed men are too strong. I can't hold on any longer. Dongbua Shui Ying's spear technique changed. Whoosh! The originally brutal chaotic hole suppression suddenly changed its trajectory, drawing an arc with terrifying penetrative power. A scene of a star expanding, exploding, and rapidly collapsing and annihilating appeared around the spear. The tip of the spear instantly pierced through the chest of the black-clothed man in front of him, causing him to shatter and dissipate. Secret skill, Star Meteor Annihilation. In terms of strength, the chaotic hole crush was the strongest. However, combat wasn't just about strength. In terms of ultimate moves, the Star Meteor Annihilation was the strongest ultimate move. Moreover, Dongbua Shuang had many other secret techniques. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. For a moment, countless spear shadows streaked across the sky, faintly resembling the phantom of a meteor. In an instant, the 8 black-robed men were forced to retreat. Secret skill, Stellar Cluster. As Dongbua Shuang executed all of his secret techniques, it was extremely difficult for the men in black to surround him, and they were easily killed. Their physical defenses were strong enough to withstand the whipping, but not many of them could withstand the piercing power of Star Meteor Annihilation. Ha ha ha. The White Sand City Lord, who had been keeping a low profile and eating, suddenly stood up and laughed. I told you that my brother Dongbua is the strongest. Look, TSK, this strength, this speed of slaughter, it's too early for you to be happy. So many secret skills. Extreme piercing. Mirage. Star. Space. A brat like him has grasped 4 grade 2 deity hearts. And he has grasped so many secret skills. Especially the Mirage deity heart, which allows him to have a mirage body. It's the same as having 2 of them fighting together. Martial Qin, the venomous Ying world deity, the Ink Cloud City Lord, King Rong Hai, and the emissary of the Bloodshed God Palace were all shocked. Previously, Dongbua Shuang had only used brute force. Although he had occasionally used extreme piercing, the only secret skill he had used was the chaotic hole crush. This had led them to believe that Dongbua Shuang had only grasped one secret skill. Kill. Just the Star Meteor Annihilation alone was already more effective than the chaotic hole crush. Not to mention the fact that he had so many secret skills. In a short period of time, black-robed man after black-robed man was killed. Not long after, Dongbua Shuang's kill count had surpassed Zhang Zhao's. He is indeed stronger than Zhang Zhao, but there should be a gap between him and Her Highness 7th Meiyu, Martial Qin said softly. Let's wait and see. The Ink Cloud City Lord frowned. Of the 8 present, 4 had bet on Zhang Zhao, including the Calm Sea Prefecture Lord. They had first eliminated Dongbua Shuang and then 7th Meiyu. This was because they felt that Her Highness 7th Meiyu might have been nurtured by Monarch Mo Shui, but her comprehension ability might not be high enough. She might not be able to compare to Zhang Zhao, who had risen from the bottom. In reality, however, Her Highness 7th Meiyu was truly a genius. She had a complete set of secret skills, and they were all extremely perfect. Currently, the one who was the least favored, the one called Dong Bo, who seemed to only know how to use brute force, actually knew other moves. Was his previous arrogance just a lie? His secret skill is also quite perfect, but it's still a bit lacking compared to Her Highness 7th Meiyu. He has only cultivated for a short period of time, while Her Highness 7th Meiyu has cultivated for more than 80,000 years. This Dongbua has only cultivated for 2,000 years, so it's normal for him to have some flaws in his secret skill. However, he has the Mirage Deity Heart, which means that there are 2 of him fighting at the same time. Furthermore, his Mirage body doesn't fear death, which is why I feel that he might be able to kill more enemies than Her Highness 7th Meiyu. Time passed second by second. Dongbua Shuang's battle was getting more and more strenuous. After all, the black-clothed men were endlessly improving, and they would eventually catch up to him. Hong Long, the attacks of these black-clothed men were already extremely terrifying. Every single one of them could easily kill the fierce shaman warrior. Let's begin the final fight. Dongbua Shuang was starting to fight with his life on the line, even using his body to block the attacks. Time immemorial body. It was the best at preserving his life. Back in Crimson Rock Mountain, Dongbua Shuang had tested the limits of the 3rd level of his time immemorial body, as well as the limits of the 4th level. That was why he was so confident. Good fellow. He cultivates a world deity grade secret technique that allows him to preserve his life. Furthermore, he has cultivated it to the grand circle of the deity realm. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master, monarch Mo Shui, and the others who were watching from the high platform could not help but laugh. The two old men even exchanged glances and laughed. The calm sea prefecture master even laughed. Ha ha ha, who would have thought that the two of us would lose? I've won. I've killed everyone, I've killed everyone. The White Sand City Lord grinned from ear to ear. Previously, Dongbo Shui Ying's kill count was close to that of 7th Mei Yu's, especially after he used his body to block the attacks. The yellow-robed venomous Ing world deity, Marshal Qin, the Ink Cloud City Lord, King Rong Hai, and the emissary of the Bloodshed God Palace all felt helpless, but they had nothing to say. They had lost wholeheartedly. This Dongbo's combat power was indeed stronger. From what they could see, he had at least 2 world deity grade secret techniques, and both of them had been cultivated to the pinnacle of the deity realm. It must be stated that there were quite a few who had obtained world deity grade secret techniques, but reaching the pinnacle of the deity realm was extremely difficult. His great chaotic true force had reached the pinnacle of the deity realm, and Dongbo Shuang had only broken through after passing through the starfield selections. As for his time immemorial body, he had broken through after reaching the stage 3 realm of the grade 1 true meaning of the world. I admit defeat. Dongbo Shui Ying's body was indeed tough enough. The black-robed men were unable to injure him, but they were still able to surround Dongbo Shui Ying's true body and surround him. He did not continue fighting and immediately admitted defeat. Hua! He was expelled and appeared in midair. Dongbo Shuang could see the large number of figures below him. At the same time, a voice rang in his ears, the 12th batch has ended. This voice reverberated throughout the entire world. For a time, all the spectators below turned their gazes towards Dongbo Shuang in midair. Even the existences on the high platform looked at him. Because, Dongbo Shuang had indeed dragged on for a very long time. Relying on his immortal body, he dragged on the battle until the very end. I'm really the last one to come out. Dongbo Shuang thought, I wonder what my ranking will be. Dongbo Shuang immediately flew in the direction of the Mountain Wu star field. At another location, Zhang Shao coldly looked at the descending Dongbo Shuang. He had come out very early. So what if he's the last one to come out? This brat might not even be able to enter the top 1000. Brother Dongbo, not bad, not bad. You're really not bad. After the prefecture capital battle ends, I have a gift for you. On the high platform, the White Sand City Lord was beaming as he looked at the descending Shuang. He had even transmitted a message directly into Shui Ying's ears. He was truly happy because he had won this wager. Hearing the voice of the White Sand City Lord, Dongbo Shuang jumped in fright. He quickly descended. The white-robed handsome teenager, His Highness 7th Mei Yu, laughed. Brother Dongbo is actually the last one to come out. Furthermore, he isn't injured at all. I'm impressed. Coming out the last one doesn't mean that he's the best. We'll know when the rankings are out, Dongbo Shuang said. Chapter 445. Calm Sea Prefecture Capital, within Dongbo Shui Ying's cave abode in the Bloodshed Domain. Jing Qiu and the other deities of the Xia people were all gathered here, all concerned about the ranking battle for the Myriad Flower Feast. I wonder how Dongbo is doing now. This scroll world seems to be very dangerous. The Cloud Sea Emperor raised his head and looked at the distant sky. He could see the huge scroll in the sky, and occasionally, he could see figures being expelled from the scroll. Blood splattered everywhere, and occasionally, miserable screams could be heard. This caused the hearts of the Cloud Sea Emperor and the others to tighten. Don't worry. Dongbo is very powerful. He won't have any problems in the ranking battle. Even in the worst-case scenario, Dongbo is still a lord of a material realm. The Dragon Mountain Emperor laughed heartily. That's right, I can easily cultivate another avatar. What nonsense are you spouting? The Purple Thunder Emperor glared. How could anything happen to Dongbua? In this ranking battle, Dongbua is going to become the disciple of a powerful existence. Old brother Purple Thunder, I was wrong. I was wrong. I will accept my punishment. The Dragon Mountain Emperor hurriedly picked up the wine cup beside him and gulped it down. The Purple Thunder Emperor laughed as well. Dragon Mountain, is this what you call accepting your punishment? This wine is made by Dongbua himself, and I heard from Dongbua that he obtained it from the Crimson Rock Mountain. The Dragon Mountain Emperor chuckled. Jing Qiu watched from the side, but she was constantly observing the huge scroll in the sky. Suddenly, she stood up. Look! It's Dongbua. Dongbua. Everyone turned to look. They were all deities, so they could clearly see that the figure being expelled was indeed Dongbua Shuang. Dongbua Shuang was not injured at all. At this moment, a sonorous voice rang out. The 12th batch has ended. Following which, they saw Dongbua Shuang descend. Ha! Dongbua is the last one to come out of the 12th batch. The last one to come out might be the one who killed the most enemies. Yes, yes, yes. Look at Dongbua. In the end, he didn't have any injuries on his body. He didn't even have any bloodstains. The Xia people heaved a sigh of relief when they saw Dongbua Shuang coming out alive. Although they thought that the possibility of Dongbua dying inside was extremely low, they still couldn't be at ease until they saw him with their own eyes. This is only the 12th batch. Looks like the ranking battle will take at least another day. One of the muscular Xia people, Monarch Fiery Tiger, said hurriedly, and now that Dongbua has come out, there's nothing to see. Are we just going to wait here foolishly? How about, we go out for a walk? After arriving at the Calm Sea Prefecture city, I didn't even have the time to take a good look around before coming here. Go out and take a look. Brother Fierce Tiger, where is this place? This is the prefecture city. Calm Sea Prefecture capital. Even world deities are nothing here. There are plenty of people with powerful backgrounds. The descendants of powerful existences, the descendants of the Calm Sea Prefecture master, or even the heirs of foreign empires, they might not have much of a future in terms of cultivation, but they are top-notch when it comes to harming others, Yunhai said. When we first arrived, we saw some of the descendants of the luxurious clans roaming about in carriages, but they seemed to be quite well behaved. You're wrong. Monarch Scarlet Flame, who had a saber strapped to his back, coldly said, since we're following the group participating in the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast, it's only natural that no one would dare to offend us. But if we go out alone, we'll have to be obedient and keep a low profile. Although the descendants of the luxurious clans here are much more well-behaved than those in the capital cities of the Starfield, if they're in the mood to capture 8 or 10 deities and engage in a bloody battle, if they happen to capture you, you'll be in trouble. Ah! Monarch Fiery Tiger was dumbfounded. After all, this was his first time coming to the prefecture city. Under normal circumstances, it's a rare chance for us to come to the prefecture city, and it's fine to take a little risk, Monarch Scarlet Flame indifferently said. But now, we're following Dongbua. Dongbua's future is limitless, it won't be long before we, who follow him, will be accepted into the Bloodshed God Palace. We'll have a higher rank. When that time comes, our statuses will be different. Why would you want to go out now? Oh. Fierce Tiger nodded. Of the group of Xia people present, with the exception of a few who were reluctant to leave their territories in the deity world, the majority were willing to follow Dongbua Shuang. The more they experienced, the more they understood how rare it was to be able to follow Dongbua Shuang. To this, Dongbua Shuang was very welcoming. The deeper he established himself in the deity world, the more helpers he would need. The ancestral deities of the Xia people were naturally the most suitable. Furthermore, Dongbua Shuang was very happy to be able to help the ancestral deities of the Xia people. More than a day passed. Jing Qiu and the other deities of the Xia people had mostly stayed in their caverns. At most, they would stroll around the Bloodshed region. Soon, they discovered Dongbu Shui Ying's return. The ranking battles were over, and they all returned. Brother Dongbu's combat power is superb. It'll be easy for him to pass the ranking battles, and he might even be able to enter the Bloodshed God Palace. Ha, you're overpraising me. Even if the two of you fail, it'll be easy for you to enter the Bloodshed God Palace and obtain a higher rank. Furthermore, the ranking battles haven't been decided yet, so anything is possible. Dongbu Shuang and the other two deities walked side by side as they chatted. Soon, they separated and flew back to their own caverns. Dongbu Shuang flew back to his own caverns. Snow Eagle. Dongbu, Jing Qiu and the others were all waiting at the entrance to welcome Dongbu Shuang. How was it? Jing Qiu asked. How did the ranking battles of the Bloodshed God Palace Myriad Flower Feast go? It was all right. Dongbu Shuang nodded. I'm confident of getting into the top 1,000. He was modest in front of others, but Dongbu Shuang didn't care too much about it in front of his friends and family. We'll have to wait 3 days for the detailed ranking battles. Yunhai shook his head from the side. AI, since the battles have ended, the ranking battles should have been decided easily. Yet we're still waiting 3 days for it to be announced. Dongbu Shuang laughed. Firstly, we'll have to rewind time and check the previous battles to make sure there's no violation of the rules. Secondly, we'll have to find out who has potential, so that we can better allocate the rewards for the arena battles. I've heard that information on those with high potential will be sent to the Bloodshed God Palace. They'll also investigate their past experiences. Those with high potential will be sent to the Bloodshed God Palace. And they'll even investigate their past experiences. Everyone was startled. Dongbu Shuang laughed. He'd only found out about this from the treasure spirit, Crimson Rock. Right. Dongbu Shuang nodded. For instance, those who've never cultivated world deity ranked secret techniques yet have high comprehension abilities will be at a disadvantage. The arena battles will definitely be arranged well. Furthermore, during the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast, His Majesty and other powerful existences will be spectating. If they fancy someone and want to take him in as a disciple, they'll naturally want to know the details. The Bloodshed God Palace will naturally have to collect information beforehand. His own information would most likely be collected as well. In the eyes of the Xia people, everything from his birth, his entry into Crimson Rock Mountain, his killing of the Sorcerer God and Great Sorcerer God's avatars, World Deity Wahai's avatars, and even his entry into the deity world would be investigated. Of course, he'd never divulged anything about his Grade 1 true meaning. If the Temporal Temple were to investigate with all their might, they might be able to find out, but even if they did, it couldn't leak it. As a treasure spirit, it had to follow the rules. Someone with high comprehension abilities yet never cultivated a world deity ranked secret technique? The Purple Thunder Emperor shook his head. Such cases are rare. Any transcendent with high talent would immediately attract attention, let alone someone who has become a deity. There was no need to even mention becoming a deity. Those with extremely high comprehension abilities after becoming a deity would have long since been discovered and taken in by some major powers. Many of them have even become stage 4 world deities or become disciples of powerful existences. Amen. There are many disciples of powerful existences during the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast, Dongbu Shuang said. Those who did not become world deities, even if they were disciples of powerful existences, they would only be honorary disciples, or at most inner disciples. Their statuses were relatively low. Of course, Grade 1 true meaning transcendents were an exception. Powerful existences would treat Grade 1 true meaning transcendents as their most beloved children and nurture them with all their might. Although Dongbu Shuang would occasionally accompany Jing Qiu and the deities of the Xia people, he spent most of his time meditating. This ranking battle had indeed given him many inspirations, especially the chaotic suppression. He had also begun to comprehend it, working hard to perfect it. 3 days was truly too short a period of time in cultivation. Without even sensing the passage of time, Dongbo Shuang heard his wife's voice from outside. Snow Eagle, come out quickly. The ranking has been announced. Jing Qiu shouted. Star. Chapter 446. Hong Long. The stone door of the cultivation room opened, and Dongbo Shuang rushed out. Within the courtyard of the cavern dwelling, the Xia people and the deities all raised their heads to look at him. Jing Qiu was waiting for Dongbo Shuang outside. Snow Eagle, look. Dongbo Shuang raised his head to look at the gigantic blood-colored scroll in the sky. The scroll was slowly unfurling, and the names were already beginning to appear, starting from the very bottom. Rank 1000th, Lustrous Horn Starfield, Yan Feng. Names began to appear one after another. The words for the rank and starfield were relatively small, while the names were relatively large. The deities of the Xia people, Jing Qiu, and even Dongbo Shuang all raised their heads to look at the scroll nervously. His name had to appear on the rankings. If it wasn't, then, his journey to the myriad flower feast would be over. Ha ha ha, father, that's your name. Dongbo Shuang could clearly hear the sounds of joy coming from a cavern dwelling several dozen kilometers away. This was because the deities participating in the myriad flower feast had all been arranged to stay in this area. The closest ones might be a few kilometers away, while the furthest would be a few million kilometers away. Even an ordinary cavern dwelling would occupy several kilometers. Congratulations, Brother Yuan. Voices could be heard from all over the place. Following the announcement of the rankings, a few of the names on the rankings were immediately overjoyed. Although the voices coming from the distant cavern dwellings could be heard, the small area where Dongbo Shuang was staying, the area where the experts of the Mountain Wu Starfield lived, was extremely quiet. That was because 300 names had already been announced, yet not a single one belonged to the Mountain Wu Starfield. All of you, come over to my place, Patrol Master Guan's voice rang out. Patrol Master Guan is calling for us. Let's go. Dongbo Shuang controlled his state of mind as he spoke. At the same time, he couldn't help but laugh inwardly. He was, after all, a grade 1 true meaning transcendent, yet he was actually nervous because of the announcement of the rankings. Dongbo's combat power is extremely high. He'll definitely be ranked at the top. Definitely. I think he should be in the top 100. The gods of the Xia people chatted amongst themselves as they walked out of the cave abode. As they walked, all of them raised their heads to look at the scroll that was slowly unfurling in the sky. They looked at the new names that had appeared. The cave dwelling of the Star Field Patrol Pass was naturally much more luxurious. At that moment, even a world god of the second heaven, Madame Sang, General Tu and a few other world gods had arrived. There were also many divine-level experts rushing over from various places. Although the Mountain Wu Star Field had a total of 16 deities who had participated in the ranking battle, only 8 of them were still alive after the ranking battle. Of course, it was unknown whether those who died had cultivated cloning techniques. At the very least, there were only 8 people left who rushed over to participate in the battle. Brother Dongbo. Your Highness, 7th Meiyu. Everyone rushed over and greeted each other. Then, they couldn't help but raise their heads and continue watching. The half-masked red-haired man with a murderous aura held the hilt of his sword in one hand and stared at the names that appeared on the scroll in the air. Nothing. Still nothing. Why isn't there anything yet? Patrol Master Guan frowned. 600 names have already been announced, General Tu said. General Tu added. They were very confident in their Mountain Wu Star Field, as it had produced 2 sufficiently powerful existences, His Highness 7th Meiyu and Dong Bo. Both of them could easily kill the fierce shaman warrior. They didn't dare to guarantee that they would be able to enter the top 100 in the Bloodshed God Palace battle, but entering the top 1000 in the ranking battle shouldn't be a problem. However, as the rankings got higher and higher, they began to feel nervous. Because the higher they went, the harder it would be. 800. 900. Time seemed to pass very slowly. When 900 names were announced and the top 100 were announced, the names on the slowly unfurling scroll grew a size larger. The words were even bigger and more eye-catching. Your Highness shouldn't have any problems. Madame Sang was also somewhat nervous. She was very confident in Her Highness, and Monarch Mo Shui had also come to spectate this time. She guessed that the monarch already knew the final rankings, but since the monarch hadn't come to inform her, she didn't dare to ask. I must enter, I must. The red-haired male's eyes were filled with a baleful aura as he silently said in his heart. This was his chance to soar into the sky. Entering the top 1000 meant that even if he lost the arena battles, it would still be easy for him to join some powerful organizations. It was easy to enter the Bloodshed God Palace and obtain a rank, and one could even obtain a relatively high rank. Usually, one could easily obtain a rank through the Starfield selections. After all, a Starfield would only produce a dozen or so in 10 million years, so obtaining a rank was still relatively easy. 90. 80. The speed at which the names appeared slowed, but each name incited cheers from some distant cavern dwellings. 70. 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, how can this be? There's definitely going to be one. The Stage 2 World Deity Madame Sang frowned, her eyes filled with anxiety. The handsome white-robed teenager, 7th Meiyu, calmly raised his head and watched. He frowned slightly, seemingly worried. He's entered the top 20. Jing Qiu was also somewhat anxious. She carefully read through each name. Where's Snow Eagle? It's impossible for Snow Eagle not to enter the top 1000. Name, the Purple Thunder Emperor, Monarch Yunhai, the Dragon Mountain Emperor, and the others of the Xia people were all watching anxiously. Everyone was anxious, including Patrol Master Guan and General Tuesday. This included Patrol Master Guan and General Tuesday. The higher one's ranking was, the slimmer their chances were. Patrol Master Guan shook his head. This shouldn't be the case. With His Highness 7th Meiyu and Dong Bo, they should be able to enter the rankings. I don't need all of them to enter, but at least one of them should enter. Currently, 985 names had appeared, but not a single one was from the Mountain Wu Star Field. Gradually, 12, 11. 10th, 3 Spring Star Field, Duo He. This name was clearly much larger than before, with a single line of words taking up an entire column on the scroll. Duo He. Ha, Teacher Duo He, you're truly formidable. Forefather Duo He. Faint cheers could be heard from afar. Patrol Master Guan's courtyard, on the other hand, was completely silent. Everyone was staring at the scroll with longing. The scroll slowly unfurled, revealing another row, 9th, Mountain Wu Star Field, 7th Meiyu. Everyone in the courtyard of the Mountain Wu Star Field was stunned. Ha ha ha. Patrol Master Guan suddenly let out a hearty laugh. It's from my Mountain Wu Star Field, ha ha ha, congratulations, Your Highness. Madame Sang hurriedly bowed. The white-robed 7th Meiyu raised her head and looked at the scroll. Her brows relaxed as she softly said, the Calm Sea Prefecture truly has many experts. Your Highness is truly formidable. 9th, you're in the top 10. With Your Highness's strength, the following selections should be easy. You'll definitely be able to participate in the Bloodshed God Palace battle. Admirable, admirable. The surrounding crowd, including the world deities, all came to congratulate him. This was a sincere congratulation. If he had been ranked 80 or 90 in the ranking battles, it would be hard to say if he would still be in the top 100 after the arena battles and the survival battles. But for an expert ranked 9th, even if there were 2 more selections, it was still possible for him to remain in the top 100. This meant that he would be able to head to the Bloodshed God Palace and participate in the Bloodshed God Palace battle. The Mountain Wu Star Field was in an uproar. Amidst the uproar, the ancestral deities of the Xia people began to grow anxious. Why isn't there yet? Why isn't there yet? All of them watched anxiously. Due to the celebration of 7th May Yu, they had unknowingly reached the 5th place, and soon, the 4th place. 3rd place, Cave Horizon Star Field, Jiu Shi. The words were even bigger now, and they were even glowing. At this moment, the countless life forms of the Calm Sea Prefecture city were watching, all of them memorizing this name. Just how amazing was he to be able to rank 3rd in the ranking battles. 2nd place, Palace Combe Star Field, Drunk Guest. The name was even bigger now, and it was even more dazzling. The entire Calm Sea Prefecture city seemed to have turned silent. Everyone was waiting for the final name. I'll definitely be at the top. I'll definitely be there. The half-masked red-haired man gripped the hilt of his blade tightly as he muttered in his heart. That's the last one. Jing Qiu and the ancestral deities of the Xia people also looked up anxiously. Dongbua Shuang also looked up anxiously. The final name, 1st place. The final name glowed with a golden light. The speed at which the name appeared was extremely slow, and it appeared word by word. Mountain Wu. Chapter 447. The final words on the scroll, which had attracted the attention of countless lifeforms in the Calm Sea Prefecture city, slowly began to appear. 1st place, Mountain Wu Star Field, Patrol Master Guan, who had been congratulating 7th May Yu and holding the wine goblet in his hand, suddenly widened his eyes and unconsciously clenched his fists. Chi, the wine goblet, which was made of extraordinary materials, began to twist in his grip. It's our Mountain Wu Star Field. General Tu and the other world deities were stunned. Yes, it's me. The half-masked red-haired man watched nervously. Everyone in the courtyard was watching nervously. The deities of the Xia people, Jing Qiu, and even Dongbua Shuang were all looking up at the final words slowly appearing on the unfurled scroll. Dongbua. 1st place, Mountain Wu Star Field, Dongbua. The most dazzling and eye-catching line of words on the scroll shone brightly. At this moment, the gazes of countless lifeforms in the Calm Sea Prefecture city landed on this name, all of them silently committing it to memory. There were only 19 prefectures in the entire Bloodshed God Palace territory. Being able to rank 1st in the ranking battle was already a testament to one's strength and potential. In the past, anyone who managed to rank 1st in the ranking battle would definitely become a world deity with an extraordinary future, as long as they did not die. Ordinary world deities could not compare to them. Everyone in the courtyard, including Patrol Master Guan, carefully looked at the words, afraid that they were mistaken. There was no mistake. At the very top of the unfurled blood-colored scroll, the dazzling golden words could be clearly seen, 1st place, Mountain Wu Star Field, Dongbua. Ha, Dongbua. Brother Dongbua, you're truly formidable. Ha, Dongbua, I knew you could do it. 1st place in the ranking battle of the entire God Palace Myriad Flower Feast. The courtyard quickly became noisy. Even Patrol Master Guan, Madame Sang, General Tu, the Soaring Cloud Lake Master, and the other world deities came to congratulate him. Most of the deities who had survived the ranking battle did not hold out much hope either. In any case, they had attended the Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast together, and they were friends from the same starfield. In the future, with this relationship, it would not be a problem for him to request for help from Dongbua Shuang. Cheers and laughter soared into the sky. The divine-level experts from the other star domains in the cave abodes in the distance understood the moment they heard this. The person called Dongbua, who was ranked 1st in this ranking battle, should be in this direction. Brother Dongbua. The white-robed handsome youth, 7th Meiyu, looked at Dongbua Shuai with a smile on his face. Brother Dongbua is truly formidable. You actually managed to clinch the championship in the ranking battle. There are nearly 2,000 starfields in the Calm Sea Prefecture, and there are many foreign deities as well, but in the end, Brother Dongbua is the strongest. Brother Meiyu is overpraising me. Getting first place in the ranking battle doesn't mean you'll get first place in the final survival battle. Even if you're first in the ranking battle and survival battle, it doesn't mean that you're the strongest in a life and death battle. Dongbua Shuang said. Brother Dongbua is too humble. 7th Meiyu's voice was cold and gentle. You should know that being too humble will make others unhappy. Dongbua Shuang was speechless. Seeing this, 7th Meiyu smiled. Jing Qiu, who was standing beside Dongbua Shuang, saw this scene and transmitted, Snow Eagle, I'm right next to you. Dongbua Shuang looked at his wife and transmitted back, Jing Qiu, what's wrong? I'm right next to you, yet you're still flirting with someone else. He's a guy. Who said so? I think he's a girl. You're really, what, you're not satisfied? Do you think I'm a hindrance here? Dongbua Shuang transmitted back to his wife. 7th Meiyu glanced at Dongbua Shuang and his wife, smiled, and walked away. How could it be? How could it be? Impossible, I must have seen wrongly, I must have seen wrongly. The red-haired man raised his head and stared at the blood-red scroll that hung in the air like a curtain. He stared at the golden names, especially the first and most dazzling name. He couldn't believe it. He was unwilling to believe that it wasn't his name. Then, he carefully looked at the entire scroll, from top to bottom, trying to find a fish that had escaped the net. He wanted to find his own name. There were only 2 names on the scroll from Mountain Wu Star Field. One was first, and the other was 9th. I lost. It's over. The red-haired man gripped the hilt of his blade, gritted his teeth, and turned to leave. He didn't feel it was beneath him to congratulate Dongbua Shuang. He didn't feel it was beneath him to congratulate 7th Meiyu either. The myriad flower feast is over for me, but I'll definitely get stronger in the future. I'll surpass 7th Meiyu and Dongbua. The red-haired man's eyes were cold as he walked back to his cave abode. The vast deity world, the dark abyss, the material world, there were people with all kinds of personalities. There were even some who felt that they were extremely talented in small places, only to realize the huge gap when they arrived in the deity world. There was always someone better than you in this world. If you kept comparing yourself with others and thought that you were the strongest, your mentality would only become more and more unbalanced. For example, Dongbua Shuang was a grade 1 true meaning transcendent. Because he didn't want to reveal his grade 1 deity heart during the myriad flower feast, he didn't dare to be arrogant and had a clear understanding of himself. His goal was to participate in the Bloodshed God Palace battle so that he could become a disciple of a powerful existence. If he could eat the myriad flower true fruit, that would be even better. As for the ranking, he just had to try his best. The ranking battle would take place 3 years later. The survival battle would take place 3 years after the end of the survival battle. 3 years after the survival battle, they would depart for the Bloodshed God Palace and participate in the final Bloodshed God Palace battle. The Bloodshed God Palace would allow these deity experts sufficient time to properly absorb some of the rewards from the selections. After all, tempering themselves at this level was rare, and 3 years was neither too long nor too short. It was more or less enough for them to meditate and cultivate. Considering the long lifespans of deities, 3 years. It really wasn't much. Brother Dongbua, you can come to my territory in the Radiant Horn Starfield anytime in the future. I'll definitely treat you well. A tall figure covered in golden fur walked out of Dongbua Shuaying's cavern dwelling. His head was also covered in golden fur and had a single horn. Dongbua Shuaying personally sent him off. Brother Dongbua, take care. I'll definitely visit you when I'm free. After sending him off with his eyes, Dongbua Shuang returned to his own cavern dwelling. Dongbua, more than 30 world deities have come to visit you, right? This one is even a stage 2 world deity, the Purple Thunder Emperor said with a smile. Becoming famous is also a headache. Dongbua Shuang shook his head. Suddenly, a voice came from outside. Dongbua. A soldier from the Legion rushed over and said politely, I'm here on the orders of the patrol master to deliver the information I just bought. Information? Dongbua Shuang walked over in surprise. It's information on the top 1,000 deities in the ranking battle. Information is already being sold outside, and the patrol master has bought it for you and His Highness, 7th Mayu, the soldier said. Please help me thank the patrol master, Dongbua Shuang immediately said as he took a crystal jade from the soldier. The soldier immediately left. Dongbua Shuang began to read through the information. The moment he touched the crystal jade, a large amount of information surged into his mind. The crystal jade itself quickly dissipated. Rank 1000, Yen Feng of the Radiant Horn Starfield, cultivated for 1,653,000 years, easily defeated the fierce shaman warrior. The information even included the battle scene of Yen Feng defeating the fierce shaman warrior during the Starfield selections. Rank 999. Every single one of them was the same. This information mainly contained information on their cultivation age, as well as the battle scene during the Starfield selections. Because it was relatively simple, it wasn't expensive. After all, it was too difficult to gather more detailed information, such as the battle scene during the ranking battle. Only the Bloodshed God Palace's emissary, the Calm Sea Prefecture Master, and a few others knew about it. Even the Temporal Temple was unable to penetrate the scroll treasure and investigate it. As for gathering information on the past, like Dongbua Shuang, who was a lord of a material world, information on a single person was extremely expensive, let alone 1,000 deity experts. It wasn't just Dongbua Shuang. Many experts, including world deities, and even some descendants of the luxurious clans of the Calm Sea Prefecture had received this information. They naturally paid close attention to the top rankers. Third place, Cave Horizon Starfield, Jiushi, cultivated for 5,916,000 years. Second place, Palace Combe Starfield, Drunk Guest, cultivated for 21,500 years. First place, Mountain Wu Starfield, Dongbua, cultivated for 2,300 years. Although the information contained the battle scene during the Starfield selections, it was the age that attracted the most attention. What, 2,300 years? Only 2,000 years? This Dongbua, everyone in the Calm Sea Prefecture who saw this information was shocked by the cultivation age of this Dongbua. Chapter 448. In the Calm Sea Prefecture city, the most luxurious palace was the Calm Sea Prefecture Master's Palace, which was also where the Longshi clan was located. The Longshi clan's headquarters occupied an area of over 100 million kilometers, and it was filled with palaces. Large groups of soldiers rode on carriages and patrolled the skies. Several rare deity world lifeforms lived here as well, and the closer one got to the core of the headquarters, the more world deities one could see armored world deities standing solemnly, their gazes sweeping across every direction. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master was the absolute ruler of the entire prefecture, and the legion under his command was much stronger than the Starfield Patrol Legion. The middle and upper echelons were all world deities. After all, as a prefecture master, with his own strength, he could easily establish an enormous empire. Since they were willing to serve His Majesty Blood Blade, he would naturally not mistreat them. Roar, in a majestic palace hall of the Longshi clan, there was a huge pit in the depths of this majestic palace hall. Within the pit, there were 3 beings from the celestial world chained up. Every single one of them was a beast with 4 hooves, blood-red scales, and a blood-red vertical eye on their heads. These were the famous Blood Eye Shatterworld beasts, extremely valuable world deity-level lifeforms. Senior Shiwei of Crimson Rock Mountain was a world deity-level plant, and a very powerful one at that. Blood-Eye Shatterworld beasts were incomparably precious, and if nurtured well, they could generally rival Stage 2 world deities. There was a railing next to the pit, and a youth dressed in luxurious black robes was currently lying on top of it, throwing down precious fruits one after another. The 3 Blood-Eye Shatterworld beasts below would immediately leap up to snatch the fruits, and some would even fight amongst themselves. "Second Prince, were you looking for me?" A tall, skinny old man hurried over. "Amen," the black-robed youth lightly nodded. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master was not a human, but a mutated dragon. He only had 2 children in his life, and they were the famous First Prince and Second Prince of the Calm Sea Prefecture. The Second Prince was relatively weak, merely a Stage 1 world deity. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master was quite fond of his children, and those 3 Blood-Eye Shatterworld beasts were something he had obtained by chance as a gift for his children. The Second Prince was also extremely fond of them, and he meticulously took care of them. The ranking battle of the Myriad Flower Feast is out. The same rules apply. The luxurious-looking black-robed young man looked down at the 3 Blood-Eye world-shattering beasts and said, "Invite the top 10 to my residence, I'm going to hold a banquet." "Yes," the tall and thin old man replied respectfully. "What's special about the top 10 that we need to pay attention to?" the black-robed youth casually asked. The tall and skinny old man respectfully said, "There are 3 that we need to pay attention to. The first is Dong Bo, who is ranked first. According to our intelligence, he has cultivated for more than 2,300 years, yet he is ranked first. Furthermore, he is a material realm lord," said the tall, skinny elder. "He is worthy of our good treatment." "Material world lord?" The black-robed youth lightly nodded, interesting. "Moreover, he has only cultivated for 2,000 years. He's quite young. Who knows, he might be able to grasp a grade 1 deity heart within 10,000 years. Grasping a grade 1 deity heart in 10,000 years. Those who could grasp a grade 1 deity heart within 10,000 years could easily become the personal disciple of a powerful existence. What about the other 2? The black-robed youth asked. The other is 7th Mayu, who is ranked 9th. The tall and thin old man said, "This is the information that the old housekeeper received from the prefecture master. He said that 7th Mayu is actually the 7th daughter of Monarch Mo Shui." The 7th daughter of Monarch Mo Shui. Who would have thought that Monarch Mo Shui's daughter would be so formidable? The black-robed youth nodded. The last one is ranked 2nd, drunk guest. He's Yu Gong, a personal disciple, the tall and thin old man said. Yu Gong. The black-robed youth turned his head, somewhat astonished. Yu Gong, that's a powerful existence. That drunk guest has cultivated for more than 20,000 years, yet he has yet to become a world deity. He's Yu Gong's personal disciple. Yes. The old expert nodded. This information was only obtained from the Bloodshed God Palace after he became the second ranker. It seems that Yu Gong likes him a lot and accepted him as his personal disciple. Drunk guest? The black-robed youth softly said, this is clearly just a title. Yu Gong's personal disciple, interesting. The disciples of powerful existences were also divided into ranks. As for honorary disciples and honorary disciples, they were simply too ordinary, not even worth mentioning. In fact, they would never even have the chance to receive pointers from powerful existences, not even once. Inner disciples? That was much better. At the very least, they could receive pointers. Personal disciples. This was what powerful existences truly valued, to the point where they would nurture and care for them like their own children. Powerful existences were extremely cautious when accepting personal disciples. For example, in the battles of the deity world, the deaths of honorary disciples and inner disciples were simply too common. However, no one would dare to casually kill a personal disciple. Killing them would be equivalent to offending a powerful existence. Personal disciples of powerful existences were extremely rare, and the number of personal disciples they accepted could be counted on one's fingers. Interesting. I'm afraid that my Calm Sea prefecture will only get more and more lively in the future. The black-robed youth smiled. Amen. I'm afraid that 7th May you will have to return to the Mo Shui Empire in the future, but once Dong Bo and drunk guests' cultivations reach a certain level, the Bloodshed God Palace will arrange for them to return to their hometowns. They will most likely hold high positions within our Calm Sea prefecture, the tall, thin old man said. They all have great potential. It's best if they all stand on our side. Hurry up and make arrangements to invite them over. The black-robed youth instructed. Yes, the tall and thin old man replied respectfully. The Calm Sea prefecture is getting more and more interesting. Although the Calm Sea prefecture master was extremely powerful and could be said to be able to cover the sky with a single hand, and everyone respected him, the Calm Sea prefecture master was not someone who could be underestimated. But it was impossible for him to do as he pleased. After all, this was the territory of the Bloodshed God Palace, the territory of His Majesty. Nobody could truly do as they pleased. Even an ordinary army soldier with a rank couldn't be killed so easily. No matter how strong the Calm Sea prefecture master was, it was impossible for him to kill so casually. Naturally, there were other experts who would split their authority. The prefecture master might not care too much about such power struggles, but the second prince, who was merely a stage 1 world deity, was extremely concerned about it. The more power he had, the more carefree he could be. Inside Dongbu Shui Ying's cave abode. Ever since the news that he had only cultivated for 2,300 years had spread, the number of world deities visiting Dongbu Shui Ying had skyrocketed. Previously, he was ranked first, but under normal circumstances, he would have cultivated for around 1,000,000 years. In the future, it would be easy for him to become a stage 1 world deity, and there was even hope for him to become a stage 2 world deity. However, this was not enough for so many world deities to pay him a visit. But now, they all realized that Dongbu Shuang was so young, and his future prospects would most likely be even higher than what they had expected. In the future, he would most likely have a high position within the Calm Sea prefecture. Many of them would have to act according to Dongbu Shuiying's wishes, so they would naturally send gifts to him while he was still weak. After all, once Dongbu Shuiying became powerful, he would no longer care about these gifts. Tisk, tsk, tsk. Not only have world deities come to pay a visit, even the second prince of the Calm Sea prefecture has sent an invitation, the Purple Thunder Emperor praised. Dongbu Shuang also looked at the black invitation in his hand. There were divine imprints on it that formed the words Dragon Clan. I heard that the second prince of the Calm Sea prefecture will always invite the top 10 rankers of the ranking battles to attend the Myriad Flower Feast. Shuang laughed. Previously, the world deity who came to deliver the invitation also said that we can bring people with us, at most 2 people. Which one of you is willing to go? The deities of the Xia people in the courtyard all shook their heads. Not going, not going. Only 2 people. Who's going? Not going. You can bring Mage Jingqiu. We won't be participating. The deities of the Xia people all shook their heads. Dongbu Shuang laughed, then looked at his wife. Jingqiu, are you going? Of course. Jingqiu smiled. I have to experience it. On the second day, a luxurious black carriage was being pulled by 9 multi-legged creatures. It landed at the entrance of Shui Ying's cavern dwelling. There were 10 black-armored legion soldiers and a green-robed driver on the carriage. The green-robed driver got off the carriage and respectfully shouted out in front of the cavern dwelling, Sir Dong Bo, we've received orders to bring Sir Dong Bo to the banquet. The door opened, and Dongbu Shuang and Jingqiu walked out side by side. Dongbu Shuang looked at the carriage and could not help but sigh inwardly. Every single one of the multi-legged beasts pulling the carriage was far more expensive than the taper beasts, and the carriage was far more luxurious than the carriage of the soaring Cloud Lake's young master. And this was just for escorting someone. This second prince of the Calm Sea Prefecture was truly extraordinary. Everyone, it's been hard on you. Let's go. Dongbua Shuang brought Jing Qiu up the carriage and sat down. The carriage was guarded by 10 soldiers. The green-robed driver drove the carriage, and the 9 multi-legged beasts quickly pulled the carriage across the sky. Chapter 449. The many-legged beasts pulled the carriage through the sky at an incredible speed. Dongbua Shuang and Jing Qiu were both seated within the carriage, looking at the surrounding scenery. The Calm Sea Prefecture city was simply too big, and there were even some majestic buildings in the distance, as well as some undulating mountains. Even I can't see the Calm Sea Prefecture city clearly. I can only see its end from afar, as if it's a gigantic city wall at the end of the world, Jing Qiu sighed in admiration. And Dongbua Shuang also looked at the gigantic city wall that was hidden by the clouds. The Calm Sea Prefecture city is indeed extraordinary. After all, it was built by the prefecture master and reinforced by successive prefecture masters. Every single array on the city wall is unfathomably profound. Despite his astonishment, Dongbua Shuang felt a surge of heroism in his heart. As long as he did not slack off, it would not be difficult for him to become a stage 4 world deity in the future. In fact, he might even have a chance of becoming a powerful existence. We're almost there, the green-robed driver suddenly said. The 9 many-legged beasts had already begun to descend towards the gigantic palace complex. This was the Calm Sea Prefecture Master's palace, as well as the residence of the Longshi clan. After descending, the carriage came to a stop in front of a side hall. Sir Dongbua. A violet-robed female attendant was waiting at the entrance of the hall, specifically to welcome them. Dongbua Shuang and Jing Qiu disembarked from the carriage. Good fellow. Dongbua Shuang swept his gaze across the hall, noticing a row of golden-armored soldiers standing at the entrance. However, the aura emanating from them was that of a world deity. 10 world deities are standing guard outside the hall. Dongbua Shuang was inwardly shocked at the foundation of the number 1 clan of the Calm Sea Prefecture. He and his wife were led by the violet-robed female attendant into the hall. A few guests had already arrived within the hall. One of them was the white-robed handsome teenager, 7th Meiyu. 7th Meiyu was seated cross-legged beside a long table, and behind him were 2 beautiful women. Sir Dongbua, this way please. The violet-robed female attendant led Dongbua Shuang to his seat, which was right beside 7th Meiyu. Dongbua Shuang sat cross-legged with Jing Qiu by his side. Brother Dongbo, did you only bring your wife? 7th Meiyu turned to look at him. I've come to take a look. Madame Sang didn't come? Dongbua Shuang asked in astonishment. Madame Sang was a stage 2 world deity, was she not supposed to protect 7th Meiyu? There's no need for her to come to this kind of banquet. What a joke, Monarch Mo Shua was currently residing in the Longshi clan, and the manor lord was personally accompanying him. Given her father's strength, he could easily suppress the entire Calm Sea Prefecture with a single thought. As such, there was no need for Madame Sang to follow him too closely. She had no reason to follow him too closely. While they were talking, a servant brought in some delicacies and wine, and respectfully placed the plates on Dongbua Shuaying's table. This is a token of His Second Highness's sincerity, please enjoy, Master Dongbua. The servant then left. The second prince's kind intentions? Dongbua Shuang swept his gaze across the table. Atop this seemingly stone plate was a flask of wine and 6 plates, some of which were filled with spirit fruits, while others were filled with food. Dongbua Shuang lifted the lid of the flask of wine and took a sniff. He then smiled at his wife beside him. Jing Qiu, His Second Highness's spending is not small. This flask of wine and these spirit fruits should cost at least 1,000 deity crystals. Snow Eagle, take a closer look at the plate, Jing Qiu said. Dongbo Shuang was taken aback. Only then did he take a closer look. It seemed like a stone plate. At first glance, it seemed ordinary and unremarkable, but upon closer inspection, one would be able to sense an incomparably pure energy contained within it. Faith Stone. Dongbo Shuang was astonished. The power of faith was extremely precious. What was the purpose of world deities spreading their fame and fighting for faith? It was precisely the power of faith. Faith Stone was the material form of the condensed power of faith. However, they would usually be cut into standard pieces of faith stones, and each piece was only the size of a finger. The plate in front of him was worth thousands of faith stones. It was probably made from the most primitive giant stone formed from faith power, and it was specially cut into plates. Her Highness 7th Mei Yu laughed from the side. Rich clans love to do such things. Let's not even talk about cutting faith stones into plates. They would even carve huge faith stones into statues after countless years of accumulation. This plate of faith stones, if calculated in terms of deity crystals, it would be worth 100,000 deity crystals. Not just you and me, but every single one of us in the top 10 will probably get a plate. This is the real gift from His Highness. 100,000 deity crystals. That's 1,000,000 deity crystals for the top 10. Dongbo Shuang shook his head and sighed. How extravagant. 1,000,000 deity crystals was equivalent to all the treasures of a stage 1 world deity. And yet, it was merely a gift from His Highness. In truth, this was quite normal. Those ranked in the top 10 were all freakish geniuses, and most likely had some sort of fortuitous encounter. 10 or 20,000 deity crystals would not be worth much to them. Only 100,000 deity crystals would be enough to show their sincerity. Moreover, the faith stones would be cut into plates, and the top 10 would always remember it. Guests arrived one after another. There were those who ranked in the top 10 of the Calm Sea Prefecture ranking battle, as well as some of the rich clan's disciples. The second prince was the last to appear. Everyone, the myriad flower feast is held only once every 10 million years, and it is the grandest event in the entire deity world. Today, I've invited the top 10 of the ranking battle, and I believe that in 9 years, they will all head to the Bloodshed God Palace to fight in front of His Majesty and all the other powerful existences. Come, for this grand occasion, and for the 10 of you, let us drink together. The black-robed youth sat on the host's seat and raised a wine cup. Immediately, everyone present raised their wine cups and drained them in one gulp. Let me introduce everyone first. The black-robed youth smiled. To my left is Brother Zhenfeng. His great-grandfather is the left palace master. He did not dare to mention the names of the powerful existences. It was a bearded man in a blue robe who looked rather dispirited. He was drinking and casually glancing around before continuing to drink. This is Brother Wan Qi, the only son of the West Yong Legion's general. And this is, the second prince introduced them one by one. There were a total of 12 disciples from the rich clans, 9 of whom were world deities, and 3 were deities. Most deities would not be able to maintain their true deity hearts for long periods of time, and their true deity hearts would eventually crumble and die. General Wan of the West Yong Legion, for example, had 9 children, but only one of them became a world deity, while the other 8 were ordinary deities. Over the years, their true deity hearts crumbled and died. Only Wan Qi was left. Those who had been invited today were all disciples of the most powerful rich clans in the Calm Sea Prefecture, the cream of the crop. After the introductions, everyone gradually became familiar with each other. Beautiful women were singing and dancing in the hall. These rich clans' disciples were also chatting with Dongbo Shuang and the other 9. Not bad. These rich clans' disciples are much more polite than that Soaring Cloud Lake's young master. Dongbua Shuang discovered that most of them were world deities, and 2 of them were stage 2 world deities. All of them were quite polite to him. Only the 3 deity-level rich clan's disciples were slightly lacking in terms of etiquette. "Brother Wan Qi, come, come. Why don't the 2 of us make a bet?" a tall silver-robed youth shouted. "If Brother Ying wants to bet, I'll naturally accompany you." Wan Qi's eyes flashed with a hint of coldness. He then laughed. "I wonder if it's a beautiful woman or a bloody battle." "A beautiful woman. A bloody battle would dirty this place and make the second prince unhappy. That would be my sin." The silver-robed youth said, "This world deity weapon of mine was given to me by my father to play with. I find it boring, so I'll bet." As he spoke, the silver-robed youth flipped his hand and took out a blood-colored double-edged axe. Wan Qi frowned, but then he laughed. "All right, I'll accompany you. I'll take 1,000,000 deity crystals and this world deity weapon." With a casual flip of his hand, a divine sword with a green scabbard appeared. Dongbua Shuang could sense it. This General Ying, who was merely a deity, seemed to have some sort of conflict with Wan Qi. Otherwise, why would he make such a big bet? Chapter 450. Dongbua Shuang also knew that in some of the rich and powerful clans in the deity realm, other than the most common, blood battle arena, there were also other gambling matches. Like exotic beasts. Among them, the Battle of Beauties was the most pleasing to the eye and the most common. Normally, 2 beautiful women would fight without any armor or boots. They would fight with weapons in their hands. As long as one side was injured, it was considered a rather merciful battle. As for the blood battle and the mutated beasts battle, it would only end when one side died. "Ha ha ha, since Brother Ying and Brother Wan Qi are so happy, I'll be the banker. Everyone can place their bets. The odds are 1 to 2. You can bet however you like," the second prince, who was sitting high above, said as he watched all this with a faint smile on his face. "I'm betting on old Brother Ying's side. Old Brother Ying lost quite badly last time, so the beauties he chose this time will definitely be extraordinary. I'm still betting on Brother Wan Qi." Seeing that all the scions of the rich and powerful clans had placed their bets, Dongbua Shuang and the other 9 had also placed their bets out of respect. Of course, the 10 of them did not place a large amount of bets. They had a tacit understanding with each other and each of them took out 10,000 deity crystals to place their bets. Soon, 2 women walked in from outside the hall. A white-robed woman and a violet-robed woman walked over barefoot, without any armor or protective gear. The 2 of them faced each other from afar. One of them had a sharp sword in her hand, while the other had a curved blade in both hands. Both of them were staring at each other. "You sent Bai Ji again?" The silver-robed youth, General Ying, sneered. "Big Brother Wan Qi, I've long since been aware of Bai Ji's power. Why did you still send her?" "If you have the ability, then say that after you win," Wan Qi said indifferently. The silver-robed youth glanced at the violet-robed woman. The purple-clothed woman understood that she had to win this match. In the Battle of Beauties, as long as one side was wounded, the battle would end. However, even if she lost, there was no way General Ying would let her off. South, south, the 2 women confronted each other from afar and moved in an instant. The white-robed woman's white robes fluttered in the wind, creating a blurry illusion. Her sword streaked across the sky like a stream of light. The other purple-clothed woman disappeared in an instant and appeared next to the white-clothed woman. She began fighting with the white-clothed woman in midair. Weapons collided. The 2 women intersected and dodged again and again. The battle between beauties was indeed a feast for the eyes. Amazing. Dongbua Shuang thought to himself as he watched. These 2 girls are strong enough to pass the Starfield selections. However, I reckon that they're too old to qualify for the Bloodshed Palace's Myriad Flower Feast. The Myriad Flower Feast had a time limit of 11 million years. In reality, most deities cultivated very slowly. For example, the ancestors of the Xia people, the Purple Thunder Emperor, the Cloud Sea Emperor, and the Crimson Flame Emperor, had all cultivated for more than 10 million years. In the deity realm, those who truly reached the peak of the deity realm would usually cultivate for more than 50 million years. However, the older one got, the lower the chances of becoming a world deity. The Bloodshed God Palace's Myriad Flower Feast only selected those with boundless prospects. If there was no age limit and the strongest deity was chosen, they might have lived for more than 100 million years. Their true deity heart might collapse right after the Myriad Flower Feast ended. That would be a joke. Chi! A sword light flashed. Two figures landed on the ground. The clothes of the purple-robed girl had been torn, and there was a large wound on her arm. Her blood was dripping onto the hall, but the wound was quickly healing. The purple-robed girl's face was somewhat pale. She had lost. She had lost. Trash. The silver-robed youth sitting there had a sinister look on his face as he growled. The purple-robed girl couldn't help but tremble when she heard this. Come here, the silver-robed youth said coldly. The purple-robed girl nervously walked over. Old brother Ying, you're not going to kill the defeated beauties again, are you? Yuanqi chuckled. It's fine if I went over, but today, I've invited the top 10 rankers of the Myriad Flower Feast. My business is none of your business. The silver-robed youth, General Ying, sneered. Yuanqi frowned slightly, but he soon laughed mockingly without saying anything else. Ha, old brother Yuanqi won this battle. There were quite a few people who placed their bets on old brother Yuanqi. This time, I've made a loss again. The second prince gave the order, and servants immediately began to deliver the deity crystals one by one. Dongbua Shuang had also placed his bet on Yuanqi because he felt that Yuanqi was a world deity, and as a world deity, he would have a higher chance of success. His bet was correct, and he made a small profit of 10,000 deity crystals. General Ying grabbed the purple-robed girl and had her sit beside him, pouring wine and serving him. The banquet was still going on. There were songs and dances, as well as performances from some rare creatures. The banquet could be considered quite lively. General Ying, on the other hand, didn't utter a single word. Clearly, he was in a bad mood after losing the bet. His gaze landed on Dongbua Shuang, as well as on Jing Qiu, who was happily chatting with Dongbua Shuang. Why is it that no matter how much I cultivate, it's useless? Why is he so powerful after cultivating for only 2,000 years? And why is it so easy for him to become a world deity? Even his woman is so beautiful. General Ying's eyes were cold. Ha! Brother Dongbua. General Ying suddenly spoke. Opposite him, Dongbua Shuang was startled, but he soon raised his head and smiled. General Ying. I can see that brother Dongbua is quite fond of her. I'll give this beauty to you. General Ying waved his hand, causing the purple-robed girl to be slightly taken aback. General Ying glanced at her and said, From now on, your life belongs to brother Dongbua. Hearing this, the purple-robed girl's heart was filled with joy. She had always been afraid of being executed by General Ying. Dongbua Shuang was somewhat puzzled. General Ying, what are you doing? Could it be that you look down on me? The silver-robed youth, General Ying, frowned. I wouldn't dare, Dongbua Shuang hurriedly said. Ha, brother Dongbua, since brother Ying has gifted her to you, just accept it. It's just a beauty. Just accept it. The other scions of the rich clans all spoke up. Many thanks, General Ying. In truth, Dongbua Shuang had been watching from the side. He could guess that the purple-robed girl would suffer a miserable fate if she lost. Since that was the case, he might as well accept it. At the same time, he transmitted to Jing Qiu, Jing Qiu, she will listen to your orders from now on. Jing Qiu couldn't help but smile. Seeing Jing Qiu smile, General Ying couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Truly beautiful. Jing Qiu's beauty surpassed even her temperament. Ha, brother Dongbua, since I've gifted you a beauty, you should give me one as well, right? The silver-robed youth, General Ying, said, how about you give the blue-robed girl beside you to me? Dongbua Shuang was taken aback, and then his face turned ashen. Beside him, Jing Qiu was also taken aback, but soon after, she found it hard to conceal her anger. The atmosphere in the hall suddenly froze. The scions of the rich clans could all tell that something was wrong. General Ying, are you drunk? Dongbua Shuang said coldly. What? Not even a single girl. Are you looking down on me? The silver-robed youth's eyes flashed with coldness. She's my wife. Dongbua Shuang crushed the wine goblet in his hand. He coldly glared at the silver-robed youth. General Ying, aren't you going too far? So what if she's your wife? I told you to give her to me, didn't you hear me? General Ying's eyes narrowed. Dongbua Shuang's eyes flickered with killing intent. At this moment, Wan Qi's voice sounded in his ears. Brother Dongbua, this Ying heir's father is a stage 3 world deity, but he's also one of His Majesty's personal guards. His aunt is the famous venomous Ying world deity of our Calm Sea Prefecture. He's his father's only child, and he's only a deity. Although he has only cultivated for 70 million years, his temperament is quite ordinary. No matter how many treasures he consumes, he will soon lose control of his heart. As a result, his actions have become increasingly demonic. You can't fight him head-on. It's not worth it. Brother Dongbua, another voice sounded. It belonged to the second prince. General Ying's background is quite impressive, and he's not far from dying from the collapse of his true deity heart. That's why he's becoming even more demonic. Even I can't do anything to him. You mustn't fight him head-on. The two of them transmitted their voices. Brother Ying, Brother Dongbua obtained first place in the ranking battle, and he's very affectionate with his wife. You shouldn't act recklessly, the second prince said from his high seat. Second prince, this is a matter between me and Dongbua. You don't need to get involved. The silver-robed youth, General Ying, stared at Dongbua Shuang with a savage expression. Are you deaf? Didn't you hear what I said? Dongbua Shuang loosened his right hand, causing the powder from the crushed wine goblet to fall onto the table. Dongbua Shuang looked at the silver-robed youth and grinned. Hua! A youth in starry blue robes appeared next to the silver-robed youth. It was none other than Dongbua Shuang. Ta! 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 A palm slapped the silver-robed youth across the face. Like a phantom, he was slapped a dozen times in succession, and General Ying was sent flying backwards. A gray-robed elder behind him hurriedly stepped in to save him. The gray-robed elder was furious. He was a stage 1 world deity, but he had never imagined that someone would dare to attack his young master in this hall. The appearance of this mirage body was too sudden. You dare hit me? General Ying, who had been slapped so hard that he spat out blood and his teeth flew out, turned to glare at Dongbua Shuang. Your mouth is too filthy. Dongbua Shuang said coldly. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.